Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And of course, yes, I have brought the boys back from PTG, but we are not alone, folks. We have a guest. He's that crazy uncle that has a key to the back door that comes in whenever he wants, and we love when he arrives because he always brings the knowledge. OBM, welcome back, brother. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. Happy Monday, everybody. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Looks like we got a couple of things to talk about. So I'm excited to be here with you guys like usual.
Yeah, it is great to have you a part of the program, as always. Obviously, on loan from Xbox Era, both John and Nick, good friends of mine, good friends of yours, good friends of this entire community. And, man, you guys continue to roll through the sub count. Before you know it, you guys are going to be at 25K. And I'm happy to see it because it proves that the good guys can, in fact, win. And that, in fact, is what you have been doing over there at Xbox Era. But we're going to get into some really monster topics today, folks. Street Fighter 6 announced, officially announced by Capcom. And the hubbub is whether or not we're going to see another game money-hatted by the dreaded PlayStation Nation. We're going to talk into that, and we're going to see whether or not we agree with it, folks. On the screen, you're going to see 2+ hours, or at least the first 2+ hours of Horizon Forbidden West. Everyone here, I believe, has played it. I almost was late to the show because I couldn't stop playing it. And listen, it's gorgeous. It is a gorgeous looking game. It is an amazing story. The growth of Aloy as a character resonates with me personally because I really appreciate the strong female lead. And from where she was to where she is now, there is a distinct change in the character, and I absolutely love it. I apologize for this footage being a little darker than I would have liked. I added a filter to make it lighter. This is directly taken from the PlayStation 5. For some reason, their DVR, like the Xbox, it gets a little darkened. Now the Xbox one is much worse. It's called spade a spade. But I think you're going to enjoy the footage nonetheless. There are no spoilers here. It's the first 2 hours. But let's continue with the introductions. And I have a very special announcement, I should say, and we're going to get to that momentarily. We're going to start first with, of course, Kay Asante. Kay Asante, brother, you are here. You're not feeling well. The little ones brought home the worst cooties in the world, and it just took down the entire household. But you're here, Barry White voice and all. Welcome.
Oh.
Good evening, there, Joe.
Oh, my God. I'm taking off the clothes right now. Here we go.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Not that bad. Evening. Yes, the kids brought home the cooties. And so, unfortunately, I have been caught by it. And those out there are already starting to speculate. It is not the Rona.
No.
He started coughing and sneezing before that thing showed up, so calm down. But no, I miss podcasting. I obviously did not do my show this week because of various issues with health. So I figured, you know what, I'll just keep the mute handy so that you guys can't hear me coughing all the time. But I'm here, and there's some awesome topics to discuss, so I'm excited.
Yeah, dude, it's great to have you back. I missed Saturday, brother. I tuned in, and I'm like, man, he must have. I knew immediately after talk because we talk. If you don't know, we talk on the phone almost every day. And I obviously was made privy to, his kids and the wife not feeling well. I'm like, yeah, he's going to probably get it because those kid cooties are the strongest and most devastating of them all.
Oh, boy.
And here he had to miss his own show. But we'll get you back next week, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you. Wandering Dutch, brother. We got to talk on the back end of the program because you sent a DM to me that we're going to be doing something very important coming up with the Indie Showcase once again. I'm so proud to have been not only a part of the first one that you asked me to return, and I cannot wait to record my footage on it. Welcome to the program, brother. And, of course, your show is back this Wednesday.
It is. Yeah, I'm really glad to be back again this week. We had a well-deserved week off. Thankfully, nothing dramatic happened in that week, but there was news that did build up over the week. Then we've had the release of new games. And of course, this week coming up, we've got the introduction of our newest panel member, BitCloud, to add that PlayStation flavor to the group.
That's a great get. Obviously, I work with him on Friday mornings, and he is very knowledgeable, very respectful, and a huge asset to the team.
It's the same ethos as well that we work by. To be honest, it's staying away from the fanboy stuff. The way he works, what he aims for, and everything. It just makes sense. Kind of the same way we operate, so it's great. And obviously, his knowledge and his understanding and his more PlayStation centric views are exactly what we need. But aside from that, Boom, again, really happy to start working on the community indie showcase again.
Yes.
This is going to be much bigger and better than it was last year, which is why I'm starting it like 2 months early as opposed to last time when I put it all together in 2 weeks. So, so yeah, it's going to be awesome. We've got a whole host of awesome creators involved, including yourself. So I am looking forward to getting that down.
Yeah, and I look for, and again, I'm honored to be a part of it. I think what you're doing is incredible. The indie community, we've had the pleasure of meeting and talking to several of that community. One of which I know is Joe from Song of Iron, and hopefully we'll get him back in on that as well. We don't know what he's doing. I haven't talked to Joe since before the holiday. I got to reach out to him and find out what he's been up to, because I know that he obviously had Song of Iron set for a trilogy. So I would imagine that after he took a break and a breather, he's probably back hard at work at that. But listen, last and no way least, the loudest one of the bunch, the one that potentially will cause an avalanche in Canada, the Mag. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I am doing great, guys. OBM, welcome to the show, of course, and of course, Dutch Asante. You guys, welcome to the show as well. Everybody else, chat, you guys are awesome for being here tonight, guys. We got a lot of things to talk about. We got some fun things to talk about, some not so fun things to talk about. And hey, let's get right into the show, man. I'm ready. I'm chomping at the bit here.
Yes, yeah, so am I as well. But I want to reach out. I want to say a big thank you to 2 super chats immediately. Aaron, JF94 with the outstanding $2 super chat. He said, I had way too much pop in Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah, it's egregious. And we're going to get into it. Listen, it's my game of the year so far. I know there's going to be people that question that. And listen, opinions, folks. Everyone's allowed to have theirs. I'm loving it, but I'm not going to shy away from the criticism that it deserves. As you can see, I nearly died from. There's a lot of near deaths you're going to see in here. As a matter of fact, I even might get clipped by someone to suggest that I don't know how to play games anymore because the hit boxes on where you grab, there is something wrong. Because you're going to see in the footage that I miss a jump 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And I'm like, okay, either one or two things have happened. I have officially become the old man that's trying to play new games, and I should stay away from that, or something's wrong. And I think it's something wrong because obviously I love Horizon. But the second super chat comes in from our good friend Drawn TJ, who drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, why is Horizon so broken? Or is the PlayStation 5 or is the PS5, can PlayStation get their heads straight? I mean, it's going to be a lengthy conversation. Again, it's not a deal breaker for me, folks. I am in love with Aloy as a character, and I love the franchise. And I've defended, even when people were dumping on this in the first one, like, hey, you know, the big joke of it, you had to go find someone's leg because it was missing. Okay, maybe not every mission from the first one was great, but the side missions now, man, they're really, really, really good. And listen, we're going to get into that on the second half of the show. We're going to be talking Street Fighter 6 and whether or not Sony might have money hatted this game. We're going to say we're going to bring forth the evidence, bring our opinions, and talk about it. But before we get into the actual show, folks, obviously one of the things that I did differently on the channel was bring X-Vlog, which is the weekly VOD content that a lot of people were enjoying. And here we go, Everborn Saga. Everborn, we're going to get your introduction in just 1 second, brother. Let me just make my small announcement. Well, I'm happy to say that what I've learned as I've put these VODs on, is that people like Colt Eastwood, which by the way is not going to have a show tonight because unfortunately Colt, I just found out from Keisante, he's got Rona, which is very, very sad. Of course, so we want to wish Colt a very speedy recovery. When Colt does his content right along with Dealer, right along with Rand, these are, right along with Boxenberger, because Boxenberger puts in the work as well. The back end work that you never see is ridiculous. And you as a content creator, you must learn where your limitations lie. And for me, I'm not a video production dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on a pre-built PC, and even though it's very powerful and it does what I need for the channel, I'm just not a video guy. So what I have decided to do, folks, is bring back the 4th live show per week. That's right. I have officially changed the name. It is X Vlog Live. Right now, the new logo is being designed by Ben Kenobi of Twitter, the very talented artist. The intro is not going to change because it still says X Vlog with Mr. BoomStick XL. But it's going to be a 60-minute show from 12 to 1 on Thursday afternoons, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me one-on-one with some of the industry's toughest and finest. And my first guest this week, folks, is going to be Windows Central's Jez Corden. That's right. Jez Corden is going to be joining me for the first episode of X Vlog Live this Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
A show all about mayonnaise.
Well, hopefully it's not. It's not about
shrimp
and potentially shrimp. So we're gonna. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to round up one guest per week. I'm trying to get some of the industry's biggest. Grub, if you're listening, you're next. I want Grub on there. There's a few other people I want to have on this. We can just have a nice sit down, 2 guys hanging out. Even some of the girl gamers that people have been asking Double Barrel to try and bring into the conversation. I'm going to reach out to several of the community's absolute finest female gamers and see if we can get some one-on-one conversations. So look forward to other announcements, but that's the big announcement of the day. The 4th live show is returning to Double Barrel Gaming, and that means you're going to have live shows Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And I hope that you guys and gals tune in for the first guest being Jez Corden of Windows Central. Maybe he can drop a thing or two, and I'm writing that show as we speak. But let's get into what we're here to talk about, folks. And that is that Capcom dropped a megaton that Street Fighter 6 is going to be releasing. They didn't have a release date for it, but they said that this June or this summer we would get more information. I would imagine that there's going to be some sort of an event, whether that be a Sony event or a Microsoft event or even a Capcom event, but we will get some new information. Now, I talked to Everborn privately. I talked to Keisante on this. They have their opinions. I have mine. And obviously, one of the most suspicious aspects of the announcement was no actual platform. So a lot of people in the community started to believe that this was another Sony money-hatted game. And if it turns out to be, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not going to like it. And here is why. After not using a DualSense for quite some time, because obviously there wasn't anything to play on the PlayStation 5. There has been a few things. I didn't buy Sifu. All right, I'll get it eventually. But I waited to Horizon, and I like the DualSense. It's weighty. I'm not a big fan of the sound coming through. I'm not a big fan of the battery dying that I have to keep a wire next to it to plug it in. But I've realized that it is not as great as I once thought it was using the Xbox Series X controller, which I believe is the most dominant and perfect controller in the realm. But I don't want to play Street Fighter 6 on a PS5. Now, if I have to, well, I'm going to have to because I'm a Street Fighter dude. I've been a Street Fighter guy since way back in the Super NES days when my brother, Neo Mental, and he used Blanca, I used E Honda, and we used to, for hours and hours and hours, just battle back and forth. And he would one-up me, and I would one-up him, and he would electrocute me, and I'd 100-hand slap him. It was what brothers did, and I loved it, and it was important to us as kids. And Street Fighter holds a very, very special place in my heart. And as great as Street Fighter V looked on the PlayStation 4, I hated the controller. And I don't want. I'm hoping that's not in fact the case. But Everborn, I know you're the last one here, but we're going to go to you first because we had a big conversation, and we're going to bring Kay in on it. Street Fighter 6. Is it one of those titles that Sony does what Sony does and money hack this game to lock it behind the PlayStation 5?
I'm gonna say potentially.
Okay.
However, I put out a tweet that people greatly misinterpreted earlier today,
as they do,
where I said absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, right? Or not always.
I love
right?
it.
So
put your police hat on.
the thing is, I don't know why. Just because they didn't show supported platforms, does that automatically mean that it's definitely not coming to Xbox, right? I get that Street Fighter V didn't come to Xbox, but that was under different circumstances. It was a different Capcom. And by and large, Capcom doesn't really leave Xbox gamers out when they make these deals, right? Resident Evil was always day and date. These other games, they have a new game. What is it? Pragmata, or maybe it's not Pragmata, but they have some other game coming out. That's also going to be multi-plat. Yeah. Devil May Cry, all these things. It's not really a thing that Capcom has done. I mean, and when they have done it, they've done it mostly for Xbox, right?
Yes.
But you know, Street Fighter V was a different scenario because Capcom was in dire financial straits, and Microsoft, I almost said Michael Jackson, I don't know why, but Microsoft was not in a position to where they were greenlighting money-hatting things at that time, right? So they let that one slip by them, but Sony mostly funded Street Fighter V, so it was exclusive. Now, does that automatically mean that in perpetuity, Sony has first look rights on Street Fighter? I highly doubt that. So I'm not saying it is coming to Xbox, but I'm saying if it was only PlayStation, I think, I could be wrong, they would have said it, right? They would have said it now. But they didn't say that. And perhaps Capcom is saying, hey, yesterday's price is not today's price. Do you really want to have your Phil? Do you want to have your gamers miss out on Street Fighter again for a whole nother generation? And maybe now is the time the checkbook has to get open. And whether that's fair or not, it's not show friends, it's show business. I fundamentally don't agree that just because they didn't show what platform it was on, that automatically means it's a PlayStation exclusive. And I would also like to enter into evidence, Your Honor, that
this is great. I love it.
TMNT Shredder's Revenge did not tell us what consoles it would be on at launch. All we knew was the Switch. Turns out, day and date, it's going to be everywhere. Might even come to Game Pass. Who the hell knows? But it is coming everywhere, and they didn't tell you that day one. Once they say it is going to definitely be released only on PlayStation and PC, then we can have this conversation. Before then, we're just speculating. And if we're in speculation town, I say it's coming to Xbox, since none of us really know. That's the square I'm standing on, and I will happily make available the Negro Damas Paul Mooney meme when I am proven right.
If it wasn't sitting with the back of my chair, I would have fell out of it just now with that comment. Listen, you're onto something. I think that it's certainly a conversation to be had that just because they didn't say doesn't necessarily make it one way or the other. But it's a conversation that I think we've seen is the hotness, as the kids are saying. Real quick, Jordan TJ drops an additional $5 super chat, says, or maybe someone bought Capcom. Well, I mean, it could be Sony, but I don't think that's who Sony is targeting, to be honest with you. It'd be a big get. And I think, Resident Evil and, some of their games like Onimusha and Dino Crisis all equate PlayStation because that's where they all started, right? Like, we're still waiting on a new Onimusha. We're still waiting on a Dino Crisis. So if that showed up as an exclusive, I mean, I don't know if I would be crying. I would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to buy it on a PlayStation because those are two of my favorite franchises. But we'll see.
Can I add one more point? right?
Please.
Like, let's say it does turn out to be a PlayStation exclusive. I would say tread lightly, right? Now, and that's not a threat. Maybe it is. But the thing is, Sony, they got the Deathloop timed exclusivity, right?
Yes.
And then they got the Ghostwire timed exclusivity.
Correct.
And then third time's the charm, they were working on Starfield. And how did that turn out? So if you keep locking Microsoft out of content that their players are going to want, be careful. And I don't want any tears later.
That's the 1 + 1 = Xbox goes and buys them.
Right. No, listen. All I'm saying is, I don't want if this turns out to be the case, and Phil says, "Look, we can't keep getting locked out of fighting games, and we don't want to lose Resident Evil because we have a lot of fans there that like that, and Devil May Cry and all of that." And they say, "Look, hey, when you wake up in the morning to that Monday morning Phil Spencer tweet, don't start crying." Right? The Monday mornings of terror is when Phil comes out and says, "For the watch."
Yeah.
So it happened with Activision. It happened with Bethesda. Any given Monday, it could go down.
God,
so keep locking them out of content to your own peril. That's all I gotta say.
Well, listen, KSante, I want to bring you in on the conversation, but before I do, real quick, Hammond, I'm going to throw it up on the screen for everyone to see. Makes a great point. He says the Street Fighter brand needs to be available for as much people as possible. Mortal Kombat numbers prove it, and I think he's on to something, because if anything, locking out the Xbox brand proved to be disastrous for Street Fighter V. Now, granted, they're at 5.5 million sold, and it's considered one of the high ends. But we also have to take into account, Kay, that this was given away for free. The
game also didn't start out great. The
numbers were. It was when it launched the worst launched Street Fighter in the history of the franchise. That's not an opinion, folks. That is an absolute fact. I'm not saying that would happen again, but like both Everborn and KSante talked about, fighting games are still considered niche. And I think that this is a game that you're going to want and as many people as you can to play. And both companies have fighting game e-sport events that they're going to want to potentially use this game for. Obviously, Microsoft last year bought Smash GG, one of the smaller ones for sure. And the bigger one came at, was it MLG? Is that what it was? Sony
Gaming,
heavily into MLG, which makes
Sony bought Evo, and now with the Activision Blizzard deal,
Microsoft
has MLG.
So that's how it is.
Just one other thing in the chat that Red Hood is pointing out, and I pointed this out to you earlier, Kay. Look, let's not pretend like the relationship that Microsoft has with Capcom is not the same relationship that Microsoft has with Square, right? That whole Street Fighter collection or Capcom Fighter collection is coming to Xbox. They announced that today.
Yes.
Right? So,
which I just pre-ordered it, PS, by the way, because
and the last thing I will add, because I talked to you about this earlier, Boom, is I don't want to hear anything about this is good for business and it's right. It's not show friends, it's show business. But I do want to speak to, and I don't know if we're going to speak to this later, so I'll say it now. Too often the Xbox gamer is looked over when one of these deals happen. And I do find it interesting, and I find it funny that they'll tell you to just go and buy a PlayStation if you want to play Spider-Man and Street Fighter V and Final Fantasy and all those things. But Xbox buys a publisher, and now everybody's like, "Oh my God, how can you take things away from gamers? Don't be cruel and don't be." And so, if you're an Xbox gamer, you're just supposed to accept it. You're just supposed to lie down and say, "Hey, games get taken away from us because F us, we're nobody." Right? Yeah. And I don't think that that's fair. So, and it's not supposed to be fair. So when Microsoft buys a publisher, Don't cry about it. If you
Yes.
if you think that this is just standard operating business, it's cool to take franchises away from gamers, then don't get mad when a whole publisher gets bought. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, again, I don't want to reiterate and kind of throw us off the trail over here, but you do bring up an incredible point. There is an industry and community double standard. That is a fact. Again, not an opinion, folks. An absolute fact that when Microsoft does something, bad. When Sony does something, greatest move in the history of moves. When Microsoft buys a publisher, this is terrible. Someone call the president. I'm going to dial up the red phone right now. And when Sony does it, let's pat them on the ass. That's a fact. That is both in this community, and that's also in the journalism that we've seen more times than not. Not everyone's like that, but a good portion of them are. And again, great point, great fact. But Kay, I want to get your opinion on this because you seem to think a little different, and I want to get your opinion on that. Street Fighter 6 potentially, again, you said it to me earlier. Would I be surprised? The answer is no. Would I be happy? The answer is for me, no. But please continue on your point.
No, so for me, right? Do I think it will be exclusive to PlayStation? Like Everborn Saga, there's a possibility in that, in my humble opinion. There's a possibility. And the reason why that is because even though context matters, right? Even though the last time they became exclusive, it was because the company basically was under duress, right? They needed to be bailed out, and PlayStation bailed them out, and that was one of the stipulations of being bailed out, right? Once you've gotten that money in your hands and it has helped you buoy your project, moving forward, not having that money becomes a bit. It is the consumer way. It is the way of all things, right? When you have that cash becomes part of the plan, and when you no longer have that cash, it becomes a detriment to your plan, even though you didn't have it in the first place until somebody helped you out, right? So I'm not saying that automatically that means they will always take cash, but that is a factor in the equation, in my humble opinion. Now, I don't have a dog in the fight. Could it be exclusive? It could very well be exclusive. My question is, hasn't all the Xbox folk who love this franchise already dried their tears already? They did this to you many years ago, right? Where even though it started out not that great, we'll be honest, eventually Street Fighter V hit its stride, and it never, ever came to Xbox. Is that cool?
It still cuts deep.
Calm down, man. Is that cool? Of course not. But it has happened already. Your tears are dry. They're dry, right? So if a new one is coming around and it's not blatant in its exclamation of, "Oh yeah, this time it's coming to Xbox," assume it might not be. And if it's not, Everborn, I see you open your mouth. Calm down. If it's not,
I'm just saying I had a
if it's
good
not-
cry right before I turned on the camera. You talking about tears are dry. I'm still tight about that.
oh, excuse me. If it's not coming to Xbox, the reason why I am not concerned is because the equation is different now. Back when PlayStation was money-hatting Street Fighter V, the giant was asleep. You didn't know where the next meal was coming from if you were an Xbox guy, right? You didn't know where it was coming. Now, I play on all systems. I agree with you, Boom. If I have my way, it's on the superior controller. I get all that. If it has to come on PlayStation 5, I'll deal with it. I've been enjoying Horizon myself. We'll get into that. There are some pluses and minuses that control the battery life and all that, but that's neither here nor there. We'll deal, right? My thing is, if it happens to be exclusive, okay. Guess what? The giant is awake now. And to Everborn's point, what do you keep doing? You keep money-hatting things? The giant has more money than you. So good luck with all of that. Back then, it wasn't a factor in the equation. It was like, oh man, another game we lost. Now, oh boy, you want to be aggressive? Keep being aggressive because the giant is awake now. So I'm okay with it. Like, there's not much that can be taken away from the Xbox that will upset me, because finally what I have wanted for many, many, many years is now happening, right? The full weight of Microsoft is behind gaming and behind the Xbox. So if PlayStation wants to keep Street Fighter exclusive for a certain amount of time or indefinitely or whatever, trust me, The giant is awake now. What, you don't see a world where they get NetherRealm to combat?
Hey,
That is a world that
objection,
is
Your Honor.
possible.
Objection.
That is a possibility. No, there were no
Denied.
objections when you were speaking. That is a possibility in the world that we live in because the giant is awake now. Okay, so I am nonplussed by any of this. It
When's
could
the
be
next
exclusive
Killer
to
Instinct
PlayStation.
coming out?
Bro, they are swimming in developers.
Yes.
Okay, my last point. Where the question I think is very interesting is, will this be cross-gen? I contend almost certainly it will. Whereas Everborn is trying to say, nah, this is going to be exclusive to the next gen. I doubt that highly. I still think this game, even if it releases in 2024, which it might, it will be cross-generation and you will be able to play it on your PS4 and your Xbox One.
Disagree. I think it's going to be next.
The
gen
defense
exclusive.
rests, Your Honor.
Well, I mean, listen. Only time is going to tell. I, again, it's easy to say that you want it to be the best of the best of the best, right? But it's also hard to ignore that there are 50 million
Right?
plus Xbox.
He's the money man, but he forgets that the money is in the old gen.
There's
That's
115 million plus. And see, folks, you're going to see right now that I keep missing
falling.
This
Yep.
jump.
I've had many jumps of the same. Yep.
I couldn't figure out what I was doing. The grappling hook we talked about is we'll talk about it after because I was interviewed by Fonz yesterday. If you missed out on it, I got down to sit with 101 with Fonz from RDX. We had a great conversation. And we made some valid complaints that the hit boxes or the grab boxes they're wrong. Something's wrong with them, and people were like, "Well, I never experienced bugs, so you're wrong." And you know what? If you're one of those people, I don't know what to tell you. Bugs are happening. We're going to get into that. But I missed this jump like 7 times. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I don't know. But listen, anyway, let me catch up into the super chats, and we're going to bring OBM in on the conversation on whether or not he believes Capcom can afford literally to keep it exclusive, and I believe that they can. They're doing so well with all of their releases, specifically with last year's Resident Evil 8 that did crazy numbers for them. But we'll get there in a second. We have Decado drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, to the panel, Soul Hackers 2 had been announced, including release to Xbox. This is the first Atlas game coming to Xbox in over 8 years. Thoughts? Yes. You know what? We're going to be covering that specific topic on tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast because that is a big deal, and it does suggest that the guard is changing in who Microsoft does work with in Japan. And I think that Xbox has become a part of the conversation of maybe we need to bring them in and make them a part of new releases. But we're going to get into that. And then we have Mr. Joanna Dark, good friend of the program, panel member, who will be there tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. Says, great panel as always, and incredible guest in One Bad Mother. Could Street Fighter 6 be a Spartacus timed exclusive or Game Pass Day 1 exclusive? That's I didn't even consider the Game Pass scenario. The Spartacus, I've heard from an inside source, which I will not reveal, has been delayed by 6 months. And believe it or not, from what I was told, and I will not reveal my source, that apparently the Activision Blizzard deal really caught Sony by surprise, and they literally delayed it. And I think what we're going to wind up getting here, and I hope this happens. I hope it comes to fruition that this PlayStation service is going to be day and date, because that's when I will subscribe, because that will be worth the wait. It's worth its weight in gold. And I think you'll see big numbers if Sony decides to do that, because I'm tired of paying $76.43 for a Sony first party game. I don't like it. So, but OBM, what are your thoughts on everyone's theory regarding Street Fighter 6? I mean, again, people ran wild with this, and I think that's what Capcom wanted, because we're all talking about it. But no specific console announcement. Does that spell doom for Xbox, guys?
I mean, no, not the short answer is it doesn't spell anything at this point in time with the fact that they haven't said anything. But just to give it a little bit of a backstory, and I'll actually do a little call out to Nick here because I think he kind of laid out some of the timeline on the Xbox Era podcast last week, including the rumors from his guy that told him that it was going to be exclusive last year. But initially, we know that there was a data leak that came out in October 2020 that showed that Xbox was going to be one of the platforms, right? So we assumed coming into the generation that the exclusivity was going to end. And apparently the Street Fighter producer Yoshinori Ono. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
Yoko Ono. Sorry, you got it wrong.
Okay. Yoko Ono.
You were right the first time.
Broke up the damn Beatles. That raggedy. No, let me stop.
Mr. Ono. So apparently he did not want it to go exclusive, and it makes sense, right? Like he's the producer of this.
Well, he's the father of he's considered the father of Street Fighter.
Right, and it makes sense because at the time that Sony and Capcom came to that deal, like you guys already mentioned, Capcom was under a little bit of financial duress. Mm-hmm. In fact, Microsoft even talked to him at one point in time and was close to something with them. So there was a point in time where Capcom needed upfront money, and so they took the upfront money for Street Fighter to have it made. So like we said, Sony funded a lot of that development, but at the end of the day, Capcom just needed money. They were living check to check, basically. Mm-hmm. Today, they're not. They're financially healthy. They don't need to sell to anybody. They're making money hand over fist. Resident Evil is back. Monster Hunter is bigger than ever. And, at this point in time, they don't necessarily need it. So you think about the fact that they need to build up these IPs because that's really, truly the value in these companies long-term is the value of those IPs, right? It's not necessarily, it's not everything is how many copies did you sell this last month. It's also how much mind share does your IP have, because that's going to determine the overall value. So, I mean, Ono didn't want to make it exclusive, apparently, that's the rumor. Now he left the company last year in late April of 21. And then apparently Sony came back to the table, they were saying, and I remember there was even, something by Imran Khan, in 2020 where he was talking about, Sony's going really aggressively. They're trying to money at everything up front. They're trying to, basically they were trying to, they were going to double down on what worked for them and just try to, shut out Microsoft in as many areas as they could, leveraging their market share. It's a business, right? So like neither here nor there. That's the smart business move. But so Ono said no, but he stepped away, and so they came back to the table. And then Urata, who is the former CEO of Capcom, went over to Sony, and he's part of their relations. And so the speculation is with the relationships they had that they were able to get that deal back. There's no evidence. I know that Nick's guy says that he told them that last year they were able to they were able to get the deal done. So it'd be interesting now, though, because I think since that time, like even if you go back to last year and if they were able to get some deal done like late in the year, we now know today that the chip shortage is going longer than anybody expected. It's probably going to go deep into 2023. And now I think every other major company is very aware, just like Asante said, Microsoft has been awakened in gaming. And if you weren't sure then, you're sure now, right? Like if you weren't sure in 2021, you're very sure by this time in 2022 that they're all in on gaming and they're not going anywhere. And they're aggressively going to grow this thing. And so when you look at that, I think whatever the projections were for the console differential is probably the projections are a lot more even than they were, even last year. And when you start thinking about that, you add on the chip shortages and things like that, it starts to make less and less sense for a company like Capcom, who, like you said, with Street Fighter V, they struggled out the gate. Eventually, they got it up to around 6 million sales once they were able to kind of start giving it away. But I mean, that's half of what Mortal Kombat did, the last Mortal Kombat, right? So, and when you think about those types of games, it's not like a single player narrative driven game where, the value, if that hits big with Metacritic and then people play it and then they move on to the next thing, they still talk about the stories and things like that. With a live service game or something that really revolves around the community, you need that ongoing engagement. If you don't have that, it significantly.
Fighting games were the first gas games before gas games became
that's
became
true.
popular. You're absolutely right.
It's not. Yeah, it's not going to live in. It's not something that's going to live in perpetuity based on people's experiences in the first month. It's going to live based off of that engagement over time. And so, even like a 25% bump to your player base, which it could be more than that because if Microsoft does really well in the West, like we expect again, like this is a worldwide IP. It's not just a game that only sells well in Japan or, in markets where it's only Eastern, where Eastern games do really well. It sells well worldwide. It used to be it used to be the king of fighters. Right. And so I think that, if they want to get back on top, if they want to get that engagement, like even a 25% bump from Xbox, the console base could do a lot for that long term. So I would say that I would not necessarily, even if they had something on the table, I wouldn't be shocked if there's usually outs in these contracts. Even if you kind of back out of something, it might cost some money. Maybe Microsoft has to go in there. We know Sarah Bond's been doing work. Like you mentioned, we just mentioned the Atlas thing, and so they're being very aggressive to try to sew that up. So I wouldn't count it out now. I kind of believe Nick when he says that, like that was the assumption that they got the deal back. But I wouldn't. The fact that they haven't announced it right now, I think, still leaves it in doubt. And I even heard Grubb say that he says the fact they didn't say what platform now kind of leaves him less sure of that exclusivity, where I think most people were pretty sure of it before. So, I think there is a chance that
saying there's a chance.
I was about to say it. Everborn beat me to it.
Saying there's a chance. Yes.
So hold on to crystallize it in my head. You're saying that before the Activision Blizzard huge news, it was all but done. But because of that, now they're going back to the drawing. Oh, obviously, this is all speculation. But because of that, they're presumably going back to the drawing board to go, hey, maybe we don't want to do this now.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I know it sounds a little bit like it sounds unrelated, but when you have a company that
it's very related. I think it's a smart, interesting take. I do. Go ahead, please.
When you spend almost $100 billion on gaming companies in 2 years, I mean, at that point, the industry's looking at you and they're going, okay, like we heard that after Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, a lot of these executives from all these big gaming companies went back to the table and they're like, they were taken back, right? Like they were like, "What do we do?
We want to make an enemy out of them?"
Exactly.
The giant is awake.
The giant is awakened. Yes.
It changes the playing field, right? And I think there's, whatever your projections were before, they've probably changed now. And now it's not just, and none of these things live in a vacuum. Now it's just like, okay, now anything's possible, right? They are going super aggressive. They're going to try to be market leaders, and even if they're not going to be worldwide leaders in consoles, they're probably going to have a huge market, especially in the West, where again, Street Fighter probably needs that base. There is going to be more overlap with that than there would be with a say Final Fantasy or something like that, right? Like I could see that being more in a vacuum than Street Fighter, which I think resonated. It's the fighting genres resonated in the West for a while, so I don't think it's just an Eastern genre. And we can see that from Mortal Kombat. The fact that that has double the fact that Mortal Kombat has double the player base, and that is a Western focused fighter, I think really makes that point.
Well, I will note though that the reason why Mortal Kombat gets so much love is it's got a killer single player story narrative now. which people always discount. It's not just a fighting game.
Got a great story. The story is wonderful.
It's not that we'll show you some graphic comic book animation cards at the end to tell you what happened. They are full story mode now, and it's very good.
And each character, each of the 30 plus characters, all have stories.
Look at NetherRealm's work with what the hell's the other one? Injustice. Injustice is so good that they've actually started making feature-length movies based on the game. Comic book series. And the fact that Kevin Smith is talking about Injustice, who's not a gamer, and he knows the stories of Injustice. I'm just saying, in terms of their storytelling in their fighting games is far superior than anything that Street Fighter.
That's right. I think that elevates it beyond the direct competitor to Street Fighter these days, but we don't know what Street Fighter 6 will present. Obviously they are competitors, so hopefully Street Fighter 6 comes out and gives you a genuinely good story. Hey, who knows?
Well, I mean, we certainly see. Mag, we're going to bring you in on the back end. Wandering Dutch, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Where do you what are your takes on the potential of Sony once again money hatting something as big as Street Fighter 6? And again, that's me saying it's big because it's big for me. I don't want to suggest that that's big for everybody, but it is a monster IP.
Yeah, it is a monster IP. I don't understand personally why Capcom would do it again. The Street Fighter 5, although the sales figures look like it's semi-successful, I wouldn't say the launch was any way, shape or form successful. The game shouldn't have been broken down into that. I know a lot of Street Fighter semi-professional and professional players, and they hate Street Fighter 5. They think it's one of the worst in the series. Yes, it's more inclined to the casual player, but in comparison to previous titles, it's not by any way, shape or form one of the better ones. I think they've kind of went away from that, specifically with the combination, all the combos you can do in it, the ease of use of the combinations, how difficult they are to do it, the spamming techniques that you use in it. But the game itself, it was, like you say, it was a multi-platform game. It started off on the arcades actually before it went anywhere, as everybody knows. So it was never console exclusive to a point. If anything, it started off on the Nintendo, and made its way through to
Super Nintendo.
I think it actually launched on both the Genesis and Super Nintendo at the same time. Because I remember fighting. I remember arguing that you got the better graphics, but you got the kiddie version, right, on the Super Nintendo. 100%. So it was never. I mean, if people want to go back to the organic nature of them working with, it was never the case that it was organic or working with PlayStation. Like many developers of their time, they moved over to PlayStation because it was a larger, media. They were able to use or make use of the fact that it was CD and not cartridge. And that in itself is a big thing for a developer, having more space to be able to create bigger things or better things, whether that be including higher resolution intro sequences or videos or FMVs, because instead of having these choppy downgraded FMVs for their games, or having better audio quality in the games, needing a bigger media storage in order to do that. And of course, discs over cartridges offers that. So that was the only reason they went over to PlayStation really in the first place. Had nothing.
Well, they went to the Saturn first, right?
Yeah, Saturn. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which again, disc based, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's the purpose of it. So, the inclination that it was just somehow a Sony thing in the first place is a bit baffling to me. If anybody knows the history of Street Fighter, it never was. It ended up as a PlayStation kind exclusive for a period, but then it's been on every platform. I mean, even the collections and the etc. have ended up on Switch.
The just announced collection with all of the Darkstalkers and Cyberbots, one of my favorites.
I don't personally see this one remaining as a PlayStation exclusive again. I don't think even they see the benefit of that now. Yes, they sold 5 million copies, but in a world with subscription services, whether that be Spartacus in the future or Xbox Game Pass or anything on PC, Limiting your audience to one platform is not in the best interests of any development company. And I know every developer, even if you speak to them now regarding timed exclusivity, the main reason for that is got nothing to do with money. The main reason for timed exclusivity deals for the vast majority is actually because it allows them to concentrate on one platform for one development purpose, as opposed to essentially splitting the studio up into X amount of people to refine this platform. You go and refine this platform. You go and work on this platform. You sort out performance issues here. You sort out performance issues here. Make sure this port's working and this port's working. And instead of doing that, you're just concentrating all your efforts onto one platform and one port of your game, and it then becomes the best version of that game that it can be for launch. That is really the main reason for developers choosing to go timed exclusivity, is specifically with some of these titles where the player base is far smaller, and the revenues on the back of these things are far smaller. I don't foresee them doing it again. I don't think the launch itself, if Capcom really look into the numbers there and see, okay, our game's doing anywhere between 4 and 6 million. To be honest, that's not including the fact that it was, of course, in PlayStation Plus, and anybody with PlayStation Plus will have the game as well. They aren't big numbers in modern day. Outside of being if you're an indie developer, yeah, that's terrific, amazing, but it's not. Capcom are a AAA developer. They are a big studio. This is 5 million copies. When you look at the grand scheme of things, even over 2 consoles, just the 2, PlayStation and Xbox. If I often look at previous gen and current gen, you're talking the best part of 200 million potential players just on console alone. So 5 million copies isn't great, even for a niche area. Fighting games themselves, specifically Street Fighter, which is pretty much one of the most, alongside Tekken, one of the most, should we say, adored by fans, whether you're a Street Fighter fan or not. If somebody mentions fighting games, think Street Fighter or Tekken. They're the big household names.
Or Mortal Kombat, but yeah.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat as well. You're right, and that can go alongside. That can go alongside with the films and things like that for Mortal Kombat. And even Street Fighter have got their own films and things like that as well from going back in the day. Well, let's not talk about them. But in general,
one of them is really good though. The other's trash. But the animated one was very good.
I don't think it holds up today, but
no, not today. No, you're right.
But if we're talking about money, modern money hunting, I don't think even if you look at PlayStation's motto going forward that they want to reach more gamers, I think it would be counterproductive of them to say that they want to reach more gamers and then limit third-party studios from reaching more gamers. It would be hyper contradictory if they were to do that. They can't come out and say we want Destiny to be multi-platform X, Y, and Z, and then say the opposite for a third-party game that was originally multi-platform. I think the time for timed exclusivity is going to die off. I think in terms of Xbox, the only exclusivity they're going to care about is whether or not it's on Game Pass. I think PlayStation, once Spartacus is out, it'll go down the same route. It won't be a case of it won't be everywhere. It'll be on every platform, but it's going to be who's going to get that in their service first, who's going to get it as an exclusive for their service. I think that's the route we're going to go down going forwards. Personally, I think, obviously, with the news there, or at least the rumor there from your source that Spartacus is going to get delayed, I don't see that for changing anything. I think maybe for Street Fighter, they might be weighing up whether or not to potentially release on previous gen or continue to go on cross-gen. I think that might be delaying it. That might be delaying why they're not showing it off. It could be that we take it all by surprise and Xbox have the marketing rights for this, which is why it's not being shown off. It could be that PlayStation have the marketing rights for it. It could just be that simple thing where it's the marketing rights are kind of holding off as opposed to an exclusivity agreement.
Or maybe they're battling it out right now for marketing rights.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they may be just showing it off and saying, right, okay, well, we know we don't have an official release date for it. It's just been announced. It's in active development. Great. We know it's coming. They might just not have a lot to show off. And obviously, in terms of platforms, they could be at the stage in development where they think, right, okay, we're weighing up marketing rights, but we're also weighing up, are we having this as a one platform thing? I.e., is it going to be next gen or current generation, or are we going to include it in previous gen? And that could be the things that they're discussing right now. Yes, they'll be building it on an ecosystem that allows them to have it on previous, but whether or not they continue that, they can make that call all the way up until pretty much a few months down the line, and they can just go, nope, this is what we want to do. Let's just focus on refining this one for launch. Make sure the next gen or the current gen version is the best version.
Yeah, no, I mean you make a lot of points regarding the next gen versus current gen. I think they're gonna have it on everywhere. There's just too many. It's too much money left on the table.
Hey, by the way, Boom, I just want to shout out Raul Julia for playing M. Bison in that Street Fighter movie.
I was about to say, I'm like, didn't Raul Julia die 25 years ago?
Yeah,
He's shutting out right now.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, and Jean-Claude Van Damme had no business being cast as Guile. But fun fact, Ming Na, from Book of Boba Fett, that was Chun-Li in that movie.
Yeah, yes, it was a very young actress for sure.
Looks the same age today.
Yeah, 100%.
Mbassin, I'm coming for you.
They weren't actually making a Street Fighter movie. They were making another movie. Then decided to make Street Fighter.
They retooled it. Yeah,
it was awful. It was terrible. But listen, let's get the mag in on the conversation. And we're going to bring in. Then we're going to go right to the big topic of the show, and that is Horizon. Our experiences, like it, love it, hate it, and the bugs that seem to be the big topic of discussion within the community, some of which are really good conversations, and some with it just people being trolls. And we don't really like to feed the trolls, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless. Mag, what is your opinion regarding Street Fighter 6? I mean, we've heard a lot of opinions from the panel, and they're all really good. I'm in the camp that Capcom is looking over at Mortal Kombat with the side eye, and they're saying, "What, you sold 12 million? Can we spend millions and millions of dollars on Street Fighter 6 only to sell 3 million copies on PlayStation exclusive?" I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Now the thing is that it's interesting. You brought up the Mortal Kombat situation. Not only did Mortal Kombat sell 12 million copies, you also have to remember how incredibly intelligent they are with their DLC to really tug on the heartstrings of us old buggers to make us go out there and buy the T-800, to go out there and buy Rambo, to go out there and buy RoboCop. You know what I'm saying? And so never mind just the 12 million. Can you imagine how many millions and millions of dollars they made on the DLC alone? Okay, on top of those sales, right? So incredibly intelligent. So they must be looking at that going, my God, what the hell are we going to do? Because they're raking it in. Now, Street Fighter 6 going on to the PlayStation only. I don't see it. But there are some arguments for it. You could say, like, for example, it was the Everborn actually put it in our private chat there. It is the second best-selling Street Fighter of all time. Okay? So there's that argument there. However, what doesn't make sense is that putting it exclusive this early in the gen, especially for, let's say, if it is a next-gen only game, I can't see that being the case, right? So there's that. And the other thing is also, either way, I think the reason why they didn't announce a platform is because it would probably make a bigger impact at whatever show that's going to happen in the summer, right? Or the June or July or whatever. Because they did say it was going to happen in the summer, correct? So we're talking about something in the summer. So they're looking at maybe whether it's a PlayStation show, an Xbox show, or I can't see a Capcom show. I mean, how much could they possibly be showing this year, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really see all that. The other thing is, considering how nice Microsoft and Sony have been playing in the sandbox recently, and this ties into what OBM was saying and touching a little bit onto what I'll get into what Asante was saying later. But about the fact that if Sony wanted to play dirty now with the exclusivity thing, probably wouldn't be the best idea. Now, it wouldn't be the best idea not only to upset Microsoft, the giant who's now awake, as it's already been said, but it's also, you've got to consider that it's a really ugly look, right, from a PR perspective. And let's face it, right now, Sony could use all the help that they could get right now because their PR has been a disaster.
It's been disastrous for sure.
It's been a disaster for a year before the PS5 even launched. Okay, from the minute they announced the damn thing, they've been tripping over their own feet. So the thing is, I can't see that. It's a really ugly look. Can you imagine Microsoft buys or whatever, acquires Activision, Blizzard, blah 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 blah. Okay, but they put the games everywhere. Then Sony turns around and gets a Street Fighter, goes, hold up, nope, only on PlayStation. Everybody would be like, are these guys for real? Yeah. Like, you're going to keep poking this guy? You're going to one day he's going to turn around, he's going to smack you. And then when he does smack you, it's going to be one hell of a smack. So that's the thing you got to be really careful of. Now, the other thing is, to add on to that argument, which was Asante was saying, about the situation in which they were at the time when Street Fighter V came out. Okay, Sony was on top of their game, okay, and the Xbox camp, I mean, just like Asante said, you don't know where your meal's coming from. It's like that B.I.G. song, It's hard growing up in the slums, eating 5-cent gums, not knowing where your meal's coming from. That's how an Xbox player felt.
Oh, boy. Preach, bro.
I love it. Preach.
Okay, that's how an Xbox
love
player
to hear
felt back
the
in
mag
that
dropping
year,
some lines, man. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I had to. B.I.G. is the man. So that's the thing, right? But it's true. You didn't know where your next meal was coming from with Xbox, so there was no money there. But the thing is now everybody knows, and especially Japan. Just ask, what's it called over there, trying to make Scalebound. Okay, please, Xbox, make Scalebound with us. It's like everybody knows that Microsoft's throwing the cash around. Okay, why would you ignore that? That's like being a stripper in the strip club, and the guy's in the VIP going like this, and he's making it rain, and you go, nah, I'll just go see the guy in the front row with the checkered shirt and the $3 beer. What? Are you insane? You go after the guy that's going like this. He's making it rain in the corner. That's where you go. So that I don't like. That would be absolutely insane for Capcom to turn their backs on Xbox. So, anyways, I don't see any of that happen. That's silly. But anyways, as for the game itself, I think that over the years, and especially when it came out on the PlayStation only, I think that Street Fighter has lost its luster. There's no question about that. This whole Evo thing, I don't know. And the Major League Gaming Xbox has got that. But isn't Evo the fighting? They do the fighting games, right? Like Street Fighter and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I could see them getting some, like maybe some kind of an exclusivity deal in terms of like maybe some special features, some special fighters. Maybe a couple of special modes exclusive to PlayStation. Absolutely not exclusive to the console itself. I don't see that, but I could see them getting some perks. You know what I'm saying? Because then they'll be able to represent the game and of course the Evo community and the Evo tournaments and all that kind of stuff, whatever, right? So I could see that, but beyond that, I don't see anything. And like I said, you already see Sony playing nice now. I mean, look at the fact that what Microsoft is saying about Activision Blizzard thus far, I might add. And then, of course, then you've got the whole Destiny thing. But I mean, let's face it, who the hell cares? They're like, oh, Destiny's everywhere. And like 90% of the community's like, okay.
Whatever.
Everybody's like, okay.
I actually used to care. Now I don't give a
like nobody cares anymore. Like, it's all about whatever. I mean, I don't want to offend everybody, because there's some pretty crazy people out there that are into Destiny. Hey, it's great, man. But I mean, they're nuts about that stuff. They're like, the Witch King's coming. I'm like, okay, when? Like, the game's been out for years. Like, get over it. So, anyways, the thing is, I don't really see it going exclusive or being exclusive. But I do see that hopefully maybe they could do something to turn this franchise around a little bit. Yeah. I don't care what anybody says, but a premier game, like, you got to remember, if you're old enough, back in the 90s, Street Fighter 2 was not the biggest game on a system. It was literally the biggest game in the world.
Yes.
Every arcade had 20 cabinets of Street Fighter just to meet demand. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about Super NES sales. It wasn't about Genesis sales. Those were nothing. Those were peanuts. Yeah. They were making billions off of the arcade cabinets. That's where it was. That's where the money was. It was the biggest game in the world. Okay? Now, to go down to 5 million copies? Like, that's garbage to me. You know what I mean? Compared to what it was before. They've got to fix the series and get it back to where it was before. Maybe it'll never get back there, but at least maybe give it a damn good shot and try to get it over there. So anyways, I'm interested to see what's happening. I'm not a big fighting game guy anymore. I think the only reason why I play the Mortal Kombats and the Injustices is once again to play that for the story, because I enjoy the stories. The writing is so good. The characterizations are excellent. And I really like how they actually integrate the fighting mechanic into the story itself, right? And you get to try all the different characters. Very interesting idea. NetherRealm does it right. I don't know how Street Fighter is going to do it. Hopefully they do it somewhat better. But anyway, we shall see. But other than that, I got to put my hands up and just be like, you know what? I'll wait and see what happens. And what happens. We shall see. I don't know.
Well, hey, yes, I was going to step in and just say one last thing. And the only reason I have to say this is because, being part of, the Xbox community and, and obviously we have a forum and things like that. We've seen a lot of, let's say, anxiety regarding like money hats since probably 2020 when all the rumors started coming out. And something I've been saying since that time, and I think we're starting to see it come to fruition now, and people are starting to understand it a little bit more. But I feel like this is the last cycle that is going to have a lot of impact. And I think even Sony is starting to see that now, as you're seeing them say, you got Jim Ryan talking about beyond consoles. And, like a lot of people still think about this entire thing in this like console war world, which is, for number one, it's not the reason why Microsoft has invested $100 billion in gaming companies, them trying to like go tit for tat with Sony in terms of money hats never really made sense. And we've heard like a lot of that from the community, like, hey, does Microsoft need a counter and do some of their own money hats and all that stuff? And like this is really more about the long game. And we know, like, just playing that old game, like trying to race Sony on that track, playing that exact sort of game, like Microsoft after the last generation basically had a hoopty, like me back in high school in 94 driving the 1980 Plymouth Volare, with all my friends singing La Hoopty, Tailpipe Dragon. Like that's what they were driving at the end of the generation. And I think it's like when you have a hoopty and you keep trying to put money into it, at some point in time, you realize it's better just to save up for that new car. And that's what they've been doing. They've been investing in this new vehicle that's something that's beyond the console generation, and the engine in that thing
Tesla.
The engine in that thing is the Game Pass, right? Like, and that is eventually, I still think people, even within the community, underestimate that. At some point, the stack up of those games is going to be enough to be a tipping point. And that is going to be the horse that kind of drives people into the ecosystem. So people keep like focusing on, well, if they need a counter and if Sony does money hat Street Fighter, what are they going to do? They're going to keep doing what they've been doing. And I would just tell people to chill out with that. I mean, obviously, like you guys have already said, I think Everborn, you may have, or Asante may have said it, we've already got used to the Street Fighter being exclusive. If it happens again, like I think people are conditioned to it. But in the big picture, I think that this money hat strategy is going to die out on both sides. I think this is kind of the last stretch of it. You're going to see some, I think, over the next couple of years that are like that were deals that were done a few years ago. But I think this is kind of the last stretch, and the next kind of shift is going to be about like something like a Game Pass versus a Spartacus. I think that's really kind of the next evolution of that, and so that'd be interesting.
Well, I don't want to drag this out because we still have Horizon to get into.
Okay.
Yeah, I still want to get into that because obviously we can speculate all day long until Capcom, Microsoft, and Sony make the big call. Maybe the reason why at the end of the day that a specific platform wasn't announced because maybe they're battling back and forth for those rights. Maybe Microsoft is, hey, listen, well, we can drop a big bag of money because we heard it from our fans the first time around. They were disappointed that they didn't get Street Fighter V. We still don't have Street Fighter V, and maybe they can get that into Game Pass day and date and really put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. But real quick, Splendiferous drops 2 incredible super chats. both of $2. He says, yes, but how long before they get back in a hole? He's talking about Capcom. I don't know, man. I just think they're doing so well with their development that I don't think we're going to see a 2016 Capcom ever again. And the second one says the warehouse. This warehouse is big, and I can hear Mag all over. That's hilarious. Listen, let's talk Horizon Forbidden West. Obviously, since we've started the show, you've gotten full on the first two. I have the first 2.5 hours recorded for you. There's not really any big spoilers. This is kind of like the very closed aspect of it. Once you get past the first 2 hours, it really does open up to an open world, and you're pretty much free to do what you like. And listen, I'm not going to get into what I love about the game. I've championed Aloy and Forbidden and Guerrilla, for that matter, since its inception on the PlayStation 4. I'm absolutely in love with this game. When we get into why I'm having some issues with some of the bugs, which you're going to see some of it pop in on this video, where it is a bit egregious, considering that it is a Guerrilla game. But before I want to bring in Mag first, and then One Bad Mother, because they might have to leave towards the end of the show, and I want to get their opinions on this. Mag, you have been so excited for this game.
Yes.
Now, you've been putting the work in on your PlayStation. You went out and you got the upgrade for Uncharted, which I think I'm going to do, actually, because I don't mind spending $10.
Worth it.
Yeah, for $10, I get all the achievements. I mean, the trophies again, and I love the Uncharted series. So that to me is a worthy $10 to get all of the games with the upgrade visuals. Again, I kind of wish they would do it for free, but it's, again, I'm a huge Uncharted fan, and I will spend the $10 for it. But I want to get your experience of on Aloy's new adventure. How far in it are you? Are you enjoying it?
You see what you're seeing on the screen right now?
That's where you are.
Pretty much that's where I am, and that's pretty much where I stopped. And the reason why, not for any nefarious reasons, I stopped there because I just said, okay, let me just hang fire here. I wanted to get a feel for it. I wanted to see what was going on, and then I put it down. It's almost like an outside voice was saying, Mag, stop playing. So I stopped playing. So I just stopped playing, and then all of a sudden, the cascade of complaints started coming in, and we're not talking about like one or two folks. We're not talking about trolls. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about legitimate people going, man, this game has got some problems. It's got this. It's got that.
The bricking of the system is
like, are
one
you
of the
me?
biggest one. As a matter of fact, I got to find her tweet. I felt devastated for her. As a matter of fact, the gamer that put it out there, she had wrote to open up her tweet, devastated, in caps. And apparently what had happened is she lost not only her 10 hours, which would make me quit a game, by the way.
Yeah.
But she lost every save on her PlayStation 5. And what that tells me is that she's not a PlayStation Plus subscriber. And that's the thing that's crummy about Sony, that no one gives them the business about that. You don't have any cloud saves.
It's utterly ridiculous.
It is the most egregious, disgusting, backwards thing that no one talks about. Like, as great as the PlayStation is on many, many aspects, Sony as a company, they're dirty, bro. As a matter of fact, just real quick, and again, I don't want to take us off what our experiences and the bugs issue. Did you know that in the UK, someone I think dropped this in the DM, I think 68% of people bought the PlayStation 5 version physically and did not take advantage of the free upgrade that was on the PlayStation 4. 68 folks. Let's round it out here. Let's bring a big picture here. 70% of people, of gamers that bought the physical PS5 version, did it knowing or potentially not knowing.
It would have been not known in the UK. It's a very casual market.
Yeah, see, so the Sony, they did it again.
It's a predatory practice. They took advantage of people who are not in the know and not aware. And it is disgusting, and it is predatory, and it should be. And I mean, not to sound like overly melodramatic, but it really should be looked into, because they talk about putting tightening the screws on these companies that do these things like the what's it called, the loot boxes and all that, saying they're saying, oh, that's a predatory practice and this and that is taking advantage of the consumer, blah 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 blah. Well, what the hell is this? You're doing the exact same thing, if not worse. Even I think it's even worse because you are purposely trying to mislead people to purchase the wrong thing. Well, not the wrong thing, but like purchase the more expensive item. It's ridiculous. But anyways, besides all that, the thing is, the game I stopped playing and I started looking over all the games that I have either coming out or coming up or that I haven't even really put any time in. And so I'm like, all right, let me just hang on for a second, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to play. Then I saw that cascade of all these like things that have bugs, bricking the consoles, all that kind of stuff. And that's the other thing, by the way. And then of course it came out again. Can you imagine this? A year and 3 months later, or 4 months, well, whatever it is, since the console released, they're like, don't put the PS5 in rest mode. Again with this?
Yeah.
Like, are you guys for real? What kind of pile of crap did you guys stick together with with sticks and glue to put this stupid console together? Like, it's unbelievable how you guys don't have this stuff worked out already.
Yeah.
What's more unbelievable to me is how in the hell people defend this.
Yep.
How people defending any of this. Can't you see, like, how abusive of a relationship are you in that you have a black eye and then you can go, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's not fine. And you guys got to wake up. Like, seriously. It's unbelievable.
I deal with my black eye for greatness.
Yeah, exactly. For greatness. You know what it is? You're this. You see this? You see that? That's you right there. That's you right there. That's what you are, and you're part of the problem. Okay? You're part of the problem if you defend any of this kind of stuff. And hey, listen, I'm not saying anything against the game, whatever. They're working remotely. I know that people are going back to work now. Microsoft, I understand, actually is I think it's next month. They're actually all going full tilt back into the studios, right? In person. Wonderful. I'm sure Sony's doing the same thing. But this game was developed, again, remotely. I understand that there are going to be problems. I am totally aware of it, and I'm also patient with that kind of stuff. That's fine. But there clearly is something wrong with the hardware if you're bricking consoles. And on top of that, what Boom had said, there is obviously something fundamentally wrong with the way Sony operates, that if it does brick your console, you lose all your other saves because you're not part of their subscription service. There is a part of this entire system that people are ignoring. Once again, love PlayStation, hate Sony. It's because Sony are the ones who are making this happen. In my opinion, they're allowing this kind of thing to happen. So there's so many ugly things on the outside of this game where at the core of it, there's actually a great game in there somewhere. It might take a month. It might take 6 weeks. Maybe it'll only take 2 weeks to patch things up and maybe it'll get better. Like I said, I didn't really experience any major problems because I didn't play that much. I only played about an hour and a half. And of course, I was trying to get used to the mechanics, right? Like, when you jump, Boom, in Asante, and then you do that grapple thing. And the grapple pulls you into like to the ledge or whatever. And so I'm trying to figure out all that stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So I click on the thing and you could see the room and all that. So I'm like, all right, I'm figuring this all out, which is great. I look forward to getting into the open world and getting into the story. And I enjoyed the first story and I enjoyed the first game. And I played all the DLC for the first game as well. So anyways, I look forward to what's going to happen. But considering what I'm seeing out there right now, I've decided to shelve it. And thank God I'm actually part of a game share situation, right? Because the next 2 games that come out on PlayStation, I'm getting for free. So essentially, even at $105 in Canada, let's face it, I'm still paying only $50 a game now, right? Because I'm game sharing with someone else because that person is buying Forspoken and God of War. And I already bought Horizon and I bought Uncharted Legacy of Thieves and Demon's Souls. So, so it all works out in the end. So I decided to shelve it. I mean, let's face it. Look what we got coming out right now. You know what I mean? I got Far Cry 6. I've barely touched. I've got the DLC for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is wonderful, by the way. If anybody wants to go back and revisit it. You got Elden Ring in a few days. Yep. 4 days. That's going to be another thing. I'll play those games. And then on the back end, I could see myself going back to Dying Light. I didn't even buy Dying Light. Because I'm still got that candle in the window for Game Pass. But on top of it, same deal. Boom, same deal. What is it? Bug Central, right?
Yeah.
When dealer puts in 27 hours and loses all his progress, and had to start over. No thanks.
Yeah, see, that's a game that I immediately erase and I call Microsoft support for a refund because
Yeah, no
F
way.
that.
I'm not touching
Yeah.
it. So I think that Horizon and Dying Light 2 is going to have to wait till like May. And then hopefully by May, everybody will get their stuff together, and then I think it'll be fine. But anyways, what I've seen so far, I'm very happy about it. I'm very excited about it. I'm very interested in playing it. Just let them, let the devs do their thing and let them iron out all the details. As for the Sony scumbaggery, well, you can't fix stupid. So, I mean, that's the way they're going to do it. That's the way they're going to do it. So it is what it is.
No, I mean, you're definitely onto something, folks. Like I said, if you missed the interview, I sat down with Jay Fonzarelli of RDX yesterday, and we did a nice one-on-one conversation. And of course, we're like men, we're being respectful and talking about the bugs. A lot of people in the chat, like these kids, they get in their feelings. You can't say anything negative about Sony. It has to be, it's all unicorns and rainbows all day long. When this game is beautiful, I'm enjoying the combat. I find myself looking for. I've progressed in such a way that I'm not even doing the main story. Like after the first story beat you'll see here in the 2.5 hours I recorded, I'm out finding, going to everything that has a question mark. I'm just going around the world.
That's what I like
and
to
I'm
do.
probably missing because it gives you the freedom to do that. But we cannot ignore that this game has an incredible amount of bugs, and it's very, very un-Sony-like. The first Horizon from Guerrilla was flawless. There's a lot of this combat you'll see that I am missing, and I'm whiffing right through some of the some of the Dinobots. And I've never experienced that before. And again, this is, you can tell that the development, as great as this game looks, and it is gorgeous.
Can I tell you what might be a factor, an issue that could be causing some of these problems, performance issues specifically?
Sure.
The previous Horizon, how many platforms was it designed for?
1.
Yeah.
How many platforms is the next Horizon designed
there
for?
you go. Good point.
2. It's a cross-gen game, and unfortunately, it's because they're working and trying to do things on multiple platforms. The focus has been less on ironing out some of these performance-based issues, because I guarantee once they've actually got into the nitty-gritty of it, it's a lot to do with just how the system's handling certain things, as opposed to the game itself.
Hey, Dutch, do you think the PC also, because they have plans for PC for this in the future, could that also be adding to some of the complexity?
I was going to say, yeah.
I think in the future, I thought, obviously, that's not. I don't foresee that coming out for another 6 to 9 months at least. But I think that will have its own time to refine it, and of course, that's going to be the best place to play this game.
Yeah,
let's not doubt that.
I mean, again, you might be onto something, but I would find it very suspect if Sony first party can't figure out their 2 own consoles. It
would be a little bit suspect, I think, but it's at the same time, I think it's just them. I think it's the other way around. I think it's them polishing the game to get it working. Doing it to get it working on PlayStation 5, and then trying to get it to run properly on PlayStation 4, and then having to downgrade certain things and lower certain aspects, etc., to get it working properly on the previous gen. And when it comes to the PlayStation 5 version, they just expected it to run, to run as well as it could be, and potentially some of just the polish has not been as up to standard as it was on the previous gen because they've had to focus on 2.
Right.
I think it'll get ironed out relatively sharpish, but
there's
still a lot of big issues though that do need looking into. The primary big issues, as you've mentioned, Boom, are the bricking of consoles, and that's not just on this title. That seems to be a problem that's occurred on many titles throughout the course of this generation so far. And it's specifically, I haven't ironed out the one major problem that's causing these issues, and that's rest mode.
Which I have mine in right now, and I hope that I don't lose my shit because I'm going to be pissed.
By the way, there's one positive thing I was going to say, which I forgot to say. Sorry, I'll be very quick. Is that the implementation of the DualSense 5 features? I think in this game, besides Astro's Playroom, I think this is the best I've seen so far.
Yeah,
You know, it's funny you talk about that because I was very enthralled with the DualSense and all of the functions of it. And after not using it for an extended period of time, because there really wasn't anything to play on the PlayStation 5. I mean, that's a fact. I've come to the realization that I actually don't need all of that rigmarole. I'm very, very satisfied with just using my Xbox Series X controller. I mean, I have the Halo Elite. I mean, it really just is there for the looking because I just like the standard controller. But after not using the DualSense, taking nothing away from it, it is a marvel for sure. But I don't think I need all of that. The sound in the speaker, the haptic triggers sometimes even feel a little weird. I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, from that point of view, I enjoy what I'm playing thus far in that respect, because I've noticed that so far, besides Astro's Playroom, I find that all the implementation of the DualSense 5 has been nothing short of half-assed.
Yeah, for 100%, dude.
And it's just like they made this big deal about it, and then when you got the PlayStation 5, you know, you're playing Astro's Playroom, and you're like, holy mackerel, this is next level stuff here. This is next gen stuff, like the skating, you know, the running in the sand, you feel the crunch and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is magnificent. And then all of a sudden you're playing Sony first party games and none of it is implemented. And
you kind of figured that was going to happen, though.
Yeah,
I hate to say this.
It's stupid. It's like, it's almost, you know what it reminds me of? You remember when Xbox had the Kinect, and then they were saying, oh, by the way, games will start implementing Kinect, like voice activation features and stuff like that while you're playing. You remember, like, you're playing Rise Son of Rome, and you could sit there with your controller, and all of a sudden you'd be like, fire! And then they would start firing arrows because it would do the voice activate. It would recognize the voice or whatever, right? No one used it. It almost feels like this is the same deal. However, this is so far the best implementation I've seen so far. Other than that, the DualSense 5 is basically just a glorified Rumble from what I've been getting from most games. But this one, I enjoy what I've been playing so far with that because I like the even the feel, like some of the feel of it. There was actually a moment where Aloy, actually, it was about a half an hour ago, you know, where Aloy, Jesus Christ, where Aloy, thanks, OBM, it's your fault.
I know.
Aloy was hugging basically herself, I guess. And you actually could feel the hug on the controller. That was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's so wild. You could actually feel like the hug on the controller. And I'm like, all right, that's very cool. So anyway, that's a very positive thing. I enjoyed that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to enjoy, but there are some issues for sure. OBM, before we bring you in, let me catch up on some of the incredible super chats. Tony the Tank drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, best damn podcast. Keep it up. Well, thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate the praise and, of course, the generosity. We have Depka drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, I want to play Horizon Forbidden West, but can't find a PlayStation 5 anywhere, and PC is for taxes, spreadsheets, viruses, and cheaters. What should I do? I mean, yeah, dude. You know what? I mean,
tell the truth, shame the devil.
That's what I keep saying.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
I will not stand any PC slander on this.
My brother wouldn't either.
Just because you guys don't know how to use your devices correctly, it's not the problem with the computer. It's between the seat and the keyboard. It's between the seat and the keyboard.
That's Apple tactics. Oh, go ahead.
I'm an hour in
between
the game,
the seat,
playing with sliders. But, you know.
Between the seat and the keyboard is the problem. I'm sorry.
I can't get in on
the game race.
I can't get in on the PC stuff because even if I had a $10,000 PC, I wouldn't use it. Anyway, risk it for the biscuit, who we are in the backgrounds talking. I'm going to be a guest on their show in a couple of weeks. We're trying to figure out the time zone because they are in Australia. So we're gonna work that out. I'm going to be a guest on their show and in the coming weeks for sure. He drops an $8 super chat and says, Uncharted $10 is worth it. But again, we see PlayStation charging for what Xbox will give you for free. Love the game. Again, cloud saves, Xbox free, PS are scummy. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's a real dirty move. OBM, let's get your opinion on it. You've obviously, I don't know if you had a chance to play it, but you have seen many of the bugs. And I got to say, I was very taken aback with the amount of pop-in that we've seen, specifically with me, the hit boxes or the grab boxes are just there's something wrong. And like I said, you've seen it in many aspects where I'm trying to like that right there nearly fell to my death again because the second button press is just not hitting. I know I'm doing it right because I know what I'm pressing and it's just not hitting. And I don't know why that is. I don't have any delay on my controller. It's obviously wireless and I'm sitting right in front of the TV, so it shouldn't happen. What are your thoughts on a game of this magnitude releasing as buggy as it has? I mean, that's very un-PlayStation like.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting topic. First of all, Mag, I forgot that you're Canadian, and the reason why is you don't say "a" very much for a Canadian. My mom's side's from Canada. They all talk like hosers over there. But anyway,
no, not all of us. Yeah.
So, it's an interesting topic because we actually covered this on our You Had Me at Halo podcast, I think in the last few weeks, talking about QA. And, a few of us have talked to developers. One of the things that's been impacted most through this work from home through COVID has been the QA. It's been across the board. And so any of these like big games with a lot of moving parts in them, that's the area that suffered the most. And I call it out not to make excuses. I think like a lot of times that's what it comes across as. But we know if you're a Halo gamer, if you play on that a lot, we know that they added an update. They had some playlists, and then they all said goodbye we're going home now for the holidays, and they left, and then everything broke, because they made that update, and in the big team for a little while, and kind of finding out from developers that there's just been a lot of challenges in the area that it's hit them in the most is the QA, and I think that's why you've seen most of the AAA games have suffered, more bugs than usual. We saw it with Dying Light, and Sony's generally had a good track record, outside of Days Gone. I think for the most part before the pandemic, they usually had a really good track record of releasing polished, unbuggy games. They usually have a really good QA process. And I think the fact that they're struggling just adds some more credence to the industry as a whole. And I say that because if you're going to buy a big open world or, jump in on a big platform, a multiplayer platform, I think that, you're almost like a beta tester when you're buying these things at day one. And so for me, like you asked, like, have I been able to dive into it? Number one, I've been actually holding off on these big open world games until they've been out a few weeks for that exact reason. I am going to make an exception for Elden Ring because I am like, when it comes to Miyazaki games.
Yeah, I definitely want in on that as well.
Yeah. Like those games, I'm like Halo, Dark Souls, and Mass Effect. Those are my Mount Rushmore games, and so I'll be there day one. I know I'm going to be a beta tester. I hope I don't lose any saves. Thankfully, Microsoft has cloud saves. Sometimes we undersell like some of the quality of life benefits you get in these ecosystems, but when it comes to these big open worlds, and I've told other people this, that with this I'll probably wait a few months, like let things clear. I usually don't do back-to-back open worlds anyways. The first game I beat, I thought it was all right. It was pretty cool because my daughter at the time was I think she's 11 or 12 when I was playing this in front of her. At the time, she's 16 now. And, it was cool to have a female protagonist. She's like, Dad, you're controlling the girl. I was like, yeah, she's a tough girl or whatever. And I thought that was a kind of a good look. And so that was a positive memory from Horizon Zero Dawn. I probably didn't rate it as highly as the average person from a gameplay standpoint. But yeah, like I think from what I've heard with the side quests and things, it's got me interested in at least, giving this franchise another go around, and maybe even having my daughter join me in again to watch me go through it. But yeah, I think that when we kind of look at these AAA games, it's unfortunate that that's the environment we're in. But I also look forward to Starfield later this year. I would not bet anything that I value that's not going to have bugs in it, right? I think that's just kind of like where we're at right now. So yeah, I do think that I think, and I don't know what the experience is, like how common it is. I do think reviewers kind of need to call that stuff out, and and people that preview this stuff need to make sure that the consumer knows that this stuff is day one. It's going to exist. I don't think it's a deal killer long term.
OBM, I have to ask you a question very quickly. I'm so sorry to do this, but I got to ask you a question. With the reviews that have come out and all the people who have put anywhere between 40 and 60 hours into the game, how in God's name have not one of them apparently have seen any of these bugs yet? As soon as it got into the hands of the players, the bugs started coming out like mad. I don't get it. Boom, do you have an answer for this?
No, it's a great question.
We can ask Cyberpunk 2077 the same question, I think.
I mean, so here's the only and this isn't an excuse. I don't know. Like, I don't know what as a data and analytics guy, I'm always I tend not to, with anecdotal information, like I consider it, but I don't know what the context is. Like, obviously you can see hundreds of people on Twitter, but hundreds out of how many? Like, I don't know what that percentage is right now. So maybe many of them didn't experience it. It's possible. I think we'll know more, I think, in time. Like, if we start to hear that almost everybody that goes through it experiences something, then we're going to go, okay, well, how did out of all those 100 reviews, how did none of you like really experience that? So I think we'll know more about that in time. But it is a good question. I do think the bugginess of these things on day one is something that does need to be probably emphasized more for the day one consumers, right? Because most people do buy these things on day one. And I'm not a FOMO guy. I can wait a few months, except for Elden Ring. I'm the FOMO guy with Elden Ring and with Halo. Yeah. But for most games, I can wait. I can wait a few months. Let you guys beta test it for me. Boom. Let the developers know. Let the developers know all those spots where the grapple hook isn't working. Get it fixed. Let me know when it's fixed.
We're actually gonna. It's funny. What's interesting, and we're gonna go to Everborn afterwards regarding this because he has a lot to say. Fonz and I were scolded by his chat yesterday regarding someone actually dropped a super chat to scold us, saying that we were ruined by Halo's grapple anywhere, and that we shouldn't expect that to be the standard. And
Can I say something on that?
Yeah, please.
Yes, the hell you should expect it to be the standard.
No, wait. Okay, so I actually had this. I'm not going to mention names. I had this debate with a buddy because he's like, this is the graphics that Halo should have had, and this is what I've said. Like,
why do I have an idea of who that was?
Yeah, we'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
But here's the thing I got to say for all developers: when people do this. They hold, we've already seen it on Twitter. Somebody's holding the space groundhog from Halo next to the ground, like whatever the squirrel is in Horizon, and like comparing the texture detail. Every developer team is going to have their own vision, their own prioritization of how they're going to use the resources, both time and the technology, because it's not infinite, right? And so some developers are going to have their prioritization is, I want to have like as much detail and immersion in my environments. And if that's what they're going for and they nail that, then I cheer that developer. Halo obviously was prioritizing the interactivity, the physicalness of the environment, the fact that you can grapple on any point, on any like piece of geometry in that game, obviously is going to use up resources that could have been used for graphics, right? Like you could have a fixed background that's super highly detailed, but you can't do anything with it. And then, so it's a prioritization. I hate that when people use one game to kind of compare it to another and say, unless they're trying to do the exact same thing. Like you can look at Crossfire X and say, you're not doing the shooting right. Right, like you're not doing the basics of this thing right. We know you're trying to make this a shooter, and it doesn't feel good, right? But like when developers are going for completely different things, obviously Horizon and Halo are going for completely different things, and those developers I think are best in class in different areas. both ways. I kind of shut that down because I don't think that's really fair to the developers, right? Like that isn't. This isn't necessarily this isn't trying to be a multiplayer game. It's not going for that kind of sandboxy gameplay type of thing. It is going for looks. Like looks is a big part of what drives Horizon. Halo, I would say it like looks still matter, but it's not as high a priority for those developers. They're trying to do a lot of different things with that engine, and we're going to find out more when Forge comes out. But I want to derail that thing. I want to get on the soapbox for a minute because it was an opportunity. Since I was arguing with my buddy, there's a chance to kind of rant without him ranting back.
Hey, so just one thing to that point, right? Like, I think it's one thing to say, yes, games are going for different things. And if they tried to make Horizon a sandbox game the same way Halo is, with all of those systems that are interplaying with each other and being able to go anywhere at any time, there would be concessions somewhere. Sure, I get that. However, the basic mechanics of a grapple hook, when you play it, you're either going to say this feels right or it doesn't.
Fair,
and if
fair.
you play Halo and you say this is how a grappling hook is supposed to feel, I think that's a separate discussion from the game writ large and what they're trying to do, because you can pick up the grappling hook and say this doesn't feel right.
All right.
And you know that because it felt right in Halo.
Yes. Well, well, you know what? Let me bring you in on the conversation, Everborn. You haven't had a chance to play it. I know that you said you had limited to say about it, but I specifically want to talk about the grappling hook because, as you see, I just used it. In the 5.5 hours, 6 hours that I've played, because I haven't had a chance to just sit down all day and play the game. It's just there's just too much in the real world to do. I'm trying to get in at it an hour, 2 hours at a time. Plus, I needed to record footage for the for the show. One of the things that I will say without a doubt is that the grappling hook in Halo Infinite felt like butter. It felt like, where were you all of my life? You know what I'm saying? And as someone that has who has now gone out of his way to experience rock climbing and mountain climbing with Aloy in some of in areas where I probably don't even belong, because some of the enemies just wiped me out because I'm not supposed to be there, but I'm checking them out anyway because I like exploring. The grappling hook is there, but it has become absolutely useless. Like, unless you see and you spot one of the spots where you can jump towards it and actually hit X and have it grab on, there's no free use of it. Now, is that something that maybe changes, 35 hours in? I don't think so. I know that Kay is a little further than I am, and I mean, it's a little nitpick. It's not that big of a deal, but to suggest that because Halo did it right and not to expect that in other games, I think that if you're sounding like a boob, so don't do that and defend something that could have been done better because someone else did it and it's not on your favorite platform. Don't do that, because we can't even have a conversation at that point. But Heavenborn, what are your thoughts on the situation in the community that has been at large the last 3 days since the game launched on Friday, that the bugs are pretty much a thing?
I mean, listen, and I gotta keep the same energy, right? When people gave 343 all of this crap, right? I said we have to put on the big boy pants, and we have to understand that, like, these are hardworking people. They put out a great product. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at it right here. And the only reason I haven't played this yet is because I have not finished
Horizon
Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
And I was ready to just skip it and just get the recap from the beginning of this game, but I was advised against it. So I'm going to trudge through Zero Dawn, which I'm not having much fun with. I'm just trying to skip all those side quests and see the story so I can get to this. So I'm very excited for this. That being said, what I don't know that I appreciate is that, and I said this before, we always get logical when it comes to PlayStation games, right? So we get real logical and we understand the same thing that we tried to say with Halo. Hey, there's going to be some bugs. They're working on them. It'll get better. All I'm saying is Halo had some pop-in clouds and some texture pop-in and some blades of grass popping in. Everybody lost their ever-loving minds.
That's true.
Lost their minds.
Fruit.
We have a lot. We have popping just from what I'm seeing right here, right? Just from there's the with the clips that I've seen, and everybody understands that, as they should. The game is great, and it's a lot. It's doing a lot of things. So if there's some pop-in to deliver what I'm looking at on the screen right now, let's put on the big boy pants and accept that, right?
Yeah.
Technology is hard. And so if you ever develop the game and you can develop something like this with no pop-in, be my guest. Do that, right? But don't come when it's Halo. Don't get your knickers in a bunch, right? Don't start clutching pearls when it's Halo, but when it's Aloy, now you get all reasonable and understandable. That's all I'm saying. So I say we should be reasonable and understandable here, but the next time you see a game that's not on your favorite platform and it has that, how about you take a effing chill pill? And I'm trying my best not to curse.
Yeah, no, great point.
He's right.
Listen, he's 100% right. Listen, OBM, you got to bounce out of here, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we're going to have you back on again. Please, by all means, sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media. But more importantly, check out your wares on You Had Me at Halo.
Yeah, well, thank you again so much, Boom and panel. You guys are always so hospitable when I do sneak in the back door, and it's always a great time to come and see you. And by the way, I think Everborn, the word the kids use for what you were saying is like same energy, something like that.
Yes.
Sorry, that's so cool. That's so cheesy. But anyways, thanks for having me. I do have to go pick up my 16-year-old daughter from work, because she doesn't have a car yet. She's got to save up for that. But you can, if anybody wants to find me, you can find me on Twitter. My handle's at Mutha, MUTHA_1. Also, I am a senior editor over at Xbox Era. We're working on a bunch of things behind the scenes. And I also, every other week, we have a Halo podcast. So if you are a Halo fan, join us every other week on a show called You Had Me at Halo, where we will, cover each and every detail that's available for Halo. And last week we talked a lot about some of the Forge leaks and things like that. So definitely some exciting things in the future, despite obviously some of the frustrations with the community right now. But once again, just want to say thank you guys. Always a great time, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Nice, brother. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you the next time you jump in. We'll definitely be expecting you to come and hang out, and love that you had great opinions as always, brother. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Real quick, before I bring in Kay Asante in on the conversation, got to shout out a couple of people. Dan Lazaro drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Demon Souls, Returnal, Horizon, all had major bugs and bricked systems, quality control problems at Sony, no excuses. Indeed, that is the truth. Otaku drops not one but two, and the first one of $5 says DualSense is just an iteration of the HD Rumble on Switch and that doesn't get support, but people thought it would be different on the PlayStation 5. Yeah, I mean, listen, I like the controller. I enjoyed it the way it was done with Astrobot. It was really well done there, and they've taken a dump on it, so to speak. Horizon use it. What's that?
I think the problem with that is and this is not to toot Xbox's horn, it is just that until it becomes an industry standard, meaning everyone is supporting it, you're not going to see it fully utilized by these developers.
Well, then stop charging $10 for its use.
Yes, 100%.
I don't
That's
disagree.
my problem.
Yeah, and you know, and you're onto something, because a lot of the Sony chatter has been, oh, you're paying for use of the DualSense when I think we already paid for that because we bought the console. I shouldn't have to pay another $10. But again, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Real quick, Otaku drops an additional $5 and says PC gaming is a great experience when it works, but it's the worst experience in the world when it doesn't, which is way more often than it should be. And cheer to that comment, because my brother Mio,
damn it, can I get some love for PC players over here?
Nope. Slow-mo's not in the chat tonight. You got no backup, buddy.
and JC Clara drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, y'all talking Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm over here playing Medieval. There's nothing wrong with that. Medieval, the remake, was actually freaking awesome. Kay Asante, you have had a lot. You are pretty far in the game. Like me, you are quite enjoying it. But you're also well aware of the bug situation that has gripped social media. What are your thoughts on what are your experiences? And more importantly, what are your thoughts on the bugs that launched very unlike a Sony game?
So I think I will be a bit more. I'll be a bit more lavish about this game than most have been, and I think between all of us, I put more time in it.
Yes,
while we were talking,
I
turned on the remote play just to check. 25 hours and counting. I've been sick.
Man.
I have been sick this last few days. So my wife has been nice to me. She's let me like rest up, and that means controller in hand.
Rest up means playing games.
That's right.
And I've been remote playing on my tablet. I've been remote playing whenever I'm not in front of my console. I'm still remote playing it. I can remote play it here. So I will split my review, if you will, into two parts: the good and the bad. Right. And first off, the good. I love this game. The moment to moment, the combat, if you liked the first one, they have iterated and made it better in almost every way possible. It is so much better than the first. So much deeper than the first. All the complaints that folks had about the stunted way that the people communicated, it is just insane how good humans look in this game. Like insane. And
the motion capture is second to none. The Decima engine that's being used for this game is proof positive that Sony has one hell of an engine to use on their games.
Outstanding. I posted and this is a half good, half bad, because I need to shout out to Pixelbit G in the chat. He and I have been going over it. I posted a shot of a couple of characters in the game, and I said, look, this is some of the best rendered black folks I've ever seen in any game. So realistic, so accurate, and of course Pixel had to come up with it and go, but what about all them damn weird perms and the wigs, which is absolutely true.
In the chat tonight too.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. When they get it right, boy, it's out of the park. But then every once in a while you're like, who is this dude with this weird head that just does not? It's just crazy weird. I get it, but
I just want to know who has the time for the conditioner and the perm.
All in all, if you look, at these characters, you will not find a better rendered person of color in any game. It is outstanding. It is incredible.
Gears of War.
Oh no, I will give you Gears of War. But this beats it. And I love Gears of War 5. I do. With all my heart, I love it. This beats it. It's almost like they didn't even render it. They literally took an FMV shot of the person and put him in the game. Yeah. It is so realistic. It's insane. It's so good, right? And I will respectfully disagree with some of with one aspect of what the Mr. Dutch was saying. I don't think they shot this for PS5 and then downscaled. I think they just got very good at PS4 and then upscaled after. Because it still runs righteous on the PS4.
I think the effort was mainly on the PlayStation 4.
On the 4, and then they tweaked it. They added Peach Fuzz to her face for the 5. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah, and then they adapted for the PlayStation 5 as opposed to focused on the PlayStation 5.
The story, so good. They're going to weird places. I'm 25 hours in, but I haven't really done much. I just go into the wilderness and like pick. I think I'm level 17 right now. I find the biggest, baddest monsters, and I'm like, all right, let's do this, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I am loving this game. I can't stop playing it. When I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. I may have went and turned it on just to check the time and found myself trying to beat a beast or two while y'all were talking. I'm sorry. I'll admit that. That doesn't happen often, but this game has me hooked, okay? Now, I preface all of that to say, and this is exactly like Everborn likes to say, you know, anything anybody says with all due respect, after that, you shouldn't even pay attention with any of that, all due respect. This is the good part, right? I loved all of that. But here are some of the bad parts, okay? I love this game, but there are certain decisions that were made that are very cringy and very questionable, okay? Another part of the fact that I love this game, it's got a bit of a white savior complex. Forgive me, unpopular opinion. You know, the world is restarted. Everyone's there. There's all these people in the wilderness, bow and arrows, spears. They got dreads all over the place. And who's gonna save the day? The girl with the red hair. And it is an unpopular opinion. I still love the game, but clearly that whole white savior complex thing is definitely on display in this game. That's neither here nor there. Main issue I have. The bugs are very much there. Hitboxes are there. You know, a Boom should not be feeling bad about missing potentials over and over and over and over again, because that keeps happening. Happened to me many a times. Over and over and over and over again. You're very close, and then you fall through. The hook shot, the grappling hook is really the problem with the grappling hook is the fact that Halo showed up. Because if Halo had not showed up, this would be way better than it was before. Oh, you can traverse the world way more than you could. Like there's a cool little trick you can do where when your grapple shot is grabbed, and as soon as you're almost about to make it to your destination,
you have to press the O. You
hit
shoot
the
up.
O and you shoot way up.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Like there are certain sequences where you can do that multiple times, like one shot to another shot to another, and you're just like traversing really high up places. Very cool, right? But of course, we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a world where Halo Infinite has redefined what a grappling hook is.
And a lot of the times I found I was missing those button prompts, Kay. And again, I thought it was me. Like I said, I'm going to be 52, so the skills are not the same as I was 25.
It's not you.
But
it's the game.
Listen, is it possible? And I'd say to it because I see, you got a lot of pushback about and take Halo out of it. You don't have to, but take Halo out of it for a second. Okay. Is it possible that maybe the grappling hook needs tuning? No,
I think it works great.
I mean, it's not working for Boom, right?
No, but you have to understand. You can't look. Boom played the greatest grappling hook game ever, as did I. And now, I played Halo Master Chief Collection for like 3 to 5 years. Since Infinite has come out, I cannot play old Halo games anymore. Why?
Yeah,
because that grappling hook changed the game, bro. That's what it is.
You know what though?
Right?
I mean, it's not just Halo too. I mean, there was an excellent grappling hook in Batman 7 years ago.
True, but even
there's
that
as well. I mean, it's not
even
like it's
that
a new
grappling
concept.
hook was not Halo. That was not Halo level grappling hook. Like
no, but
Halo
I mean,
has defined something, has really changed something, right?
Yes.
So I will not contend that it's a bad grappling hook implementation. I'm just saying that they went a half step when Halo just redefined the whole damn game.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. Right. And because of that, since it's so close to Halo, people see grappling hook and they go, oh, whoa, it's Halo. We got Halo grappling hook. And it's definitely not that. And you have to be very specific with your grapple shot in this game in order for it to be as useful. Whereas in Halo, it could be your saving grace at any moment. Oh, my God, I'm about to fall. Boom. I'm good. It's not the same here.
My question to you and Boom, though, is does it need to be so precise? Or is there a world where it may require some tuning so you don't have to be so precise with aiming and grappling?
The reason
and I don't know because
I
haven't played it yet. I'm just asking.
The reason why your question is not valid is because it's not the grapple shot itself. It's where you can hit the destination of it, because
I
the
think
grapple hook will come out whenever you want it to,
right?
But they have only specific parts of the world where that grapple shot will actually connect.
Yeah, but
that's I think where the problem
which means they would have to re-engineer the entire world and put a bunch of more.
No, but I don't think so. Spots. That's not what I'm saying.
Are you talking about the effectiveness of how it works?
Right, because I'm watching the clips of Boom play this, and he's trying to hit the thing. So what I'm thinking is, hey, since it doesn't work like Halo where you could grapple anything, but it is specific spots. So if I'm close to this specific spot, shouldn't it instinctively know, hey, go there, whether your aim was as precise or not?
Yeah, to add fluidity to the game.
The hitbox is extremely small.
Yeah, it's extremely small. That's true. And you know the reason why that is? It's because the specifically with Halo, it was used for traversal. And this is used for some traversal and puzzle solving. They don't want to make it easy on you. They don't want you to know you can use that there until you figure out that you can use that there. So making it easier would then like break certain puzzles. Like there are certain puzzles where certain instances where the grapple shot is what you need to pull something from a location to be able to get something somewhere else, but you need to figure that out, right, in the game world. And if you make it easier to get your grapple shot off anytime, it makes it easier to make those puzzles. Like it lowers the barrier of difficulty for those puzzles a little bit. And I don't think they wanted to do that. But needless to say, right, all that said, it's still a pretty decent implementation. And I honestly suspect that, over time, you'll see some tweaking happening because people have spoken, and I'm pretty sure Guerrilla's paying close attention to all this, right? I'm pretty sure they are playing. So you're going to start seeing quietly some bug fixes here and there. The pop-in is egregious. I'm not talking about popping grass. I'm talking about a whole damn skyscraper just pops into view in front of your face.
Yes.
Right? I don't have a problem with I posted my odd bug where I was fighting one of these monsters, and basically you have a moment where you have a fighting stance, right? You beat him and you have the fighting stance. And what normally happens is after the fight is over, Aloy puts her weapon away and goes back to a normal stance. In this instance, she would not put her weapon away and go back to a normal stance. So every time I move around, I'm literally skating and sliding over sand. And I had to, I tried to jump, it won't work. Tried to drop one of the traps, it blew up right on me as soon as I did so, right? So long story short, I had to reset my game in order for that to happen, right?
Yeah, I had an enemy that I had gotten down to almost death, the end of the health, and at some point he became invincible, and he wouldn't attack me. He would just keep walking. And I kept hitting, and what wound up happening, I had to wind up resetting as well. Yep. Yeah, there's things of that nature. Yep. Yeah.
Another instance in the game where, and this has been in part of the marketing. I won't spoil anything for anybody, but at some point you get like there's a meter that once you get more mature with the weapons, there's a meter that gets almost full, and then when it's full, you have a short term. Yes, a short term amount of super, and depending on what suit you're wearing, whether you're a hunter or this or you're that, it gives you different capabilities within that super, right? One of them requires, for that short amount of time, however long that is, she puts some paint on her face, and it gives her abilities in that moment for that time to do the super you're doing. I got a bug where the moment came, she put the paint on, the moment came and left, and the paint would not go away. And the whole game, until I reset it, emotional moments, this moment, that moment, heartfelt moments. You look at her and she's still got that weird green and paint on her face. And when you reset it, it goes back to normal. Now, others have had far more egregious issues, right? Others, as you guys have aptly pointed out, game breaking, potentially console breaking, and that's for those who may not be understanding about the way the footage looks on Boom's footage here. That is not a game issue. That is a PlayStation issue. They need to fix their HDR. And because they don't fix their HDR, sometimes game footage comes out washed out. Yeah. This is all part and parcel of the experience at this point, right? I had a few folks tell me, well, you're playing day one. What do you expect? Bro, I'm playing day one. Y'all charged me the money you charged me. I paid for the game I paid for. And And as you've heard me say, I love this game. I'm going to continue to play this game.
Yeah,
but
me
I
too.
have every right to also say, hey, Guerrilla,
Fix
as
your
much
stuff.
as I love you guys, and they're from where I basically grew up in the Netherlands. That's my home team. I love them. But this is a problem. First game had 0 bugs day one. This game is bug ridden. We have to be honest with it. It is bug ridden. So my review is it's a strong game. If you guys haven't caught the FOMO, I've got to play it day one. Wait a little bit, right?
Yep.
Remember, you always have to remember you can always buy this on the PS4 and then get the PS5 upgrade. And if you give it a little time, that PS4 version won't even be $60. It might be 40. It might be 30.
It might be.
And you get the PS5 version. So, but it is definitely required gaming if you own any PlayStation console.
I would
this
agree.
game
Yeah.
is amazing. It really
It
is,
is.
in my opinion.
Real quick, before we get to Wandering Dutch, Mag, you got to get on
Yes.
out of here, brother. You got a meeting
I
to
do.
get to. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Of
Sell your
course.
brand. Tell people where they can check you out on social media. And what else you got going on?
Well, it's a little quiet right now because I'm still trying to get my sea legs with the new job and stuff, right? So I've been a little bit quieter on Twitter and that kind of thing. But don't worry, guys, I'm still there and I'll be back better than ever. I just need a little bit of time to, balance the ship, so to speak. But anyways, guys, it was a great show. I don't want to derail it. I'm just gonna say goodbye. You guys know where to follow me on Twitter. You're already following me on Twitter. So, guys, have a great week. Panel, you guys are amazing. I'll see you guys. We'll talk in the chat, of course. Boom.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the show, of course, and I'll see you guys all next week.
Nice, brother.
All
Thanks for
Later,
joining
boys.
us, brother. We'll see you next week for sure. Wandering Dutch, let's get your opinion on this, brother. You've heard everyone talk about the bugs. I know that there are a subset group of people that say, why should you talk about bugs? Because this game is amazing. But I think that as much as we've talked up the game, we also have to be like, well, there are some issues. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as a paying consumer, regardless of what your preference of platform is, you're still a paying consumer and you've got every right to complain in a productive manner about the state of a game. Obviously, we all agree that across every platform, there's people who will complain, but not in any kind of productive manner. And by that, I mean they just attack the developers. This is broken, you're useless, this is broken, death threats follow, this is that's not productive, that's not going to help the issue. Complaints in a productive manner state what the issue is, when that issue occurred, and obviously what they can potentially do to try and get around it if you have those particular that knowledge to do so. However, providing them with all the relevant information regarding bugs and issues is only going to help make the game better. And if you love the game, like Asante does, he's not going to stop playing it, but it's certainly going to detract from his overall enjoyment if these bugs aren't going to be alleviated. Of course, going forward, and we've seen this. Prime example, Cyberpunk. We have to revert to it every time, but prime example, Cyberpunk. That game, I was lucky enough to play that with very little issues when it launched on Series X, all the way through to final completion. It wasn't that state for the previous gen. It was literally unplayable on the previous generations. On PlayStation, pretty much unplayable. On PC, unless you were pretty high end, it was pretty much unplayable. And the flack that they caught for that was right, but it was pointed in the wrong direction. The developers themselves came out and said, we didn't want to release it. It wasn't ready, but we were told we had to release it. So this is as good as it can be. On Horizon's front, I don't understand why people assume as well that developers are going to be angry if you tell them that there's bugs in the game, which is what that seems to come across as people that are wholeheartedly defending these plastic boxes and these corporations seem to think that these developers are going to be offended if you tell them that their game has an issue with it. They're not. What they want is for you to have the best experience possible. And if you're going to assist them with rectifying issues that are preventing that, then they're going to be all the more happy to have you on board and helping them better themselves as developers. Some of these things, and some people don't realize as well, in a development kind of area, some of these things do not present themselves until they go live. A lot of issues and bugs only occur once the product is live and it's in actual players' hands. And that is when you have to do a lot of the bug fixing anyway. Sometimes the scenarios just don't occur in testing. Like they could have went through X, Y, and Z amount of testing and it just wouldn't have occurred. And then when it gets into the live player base and you've got tens of millions of people playing the game, then issues start to crop up and more issues start to crop up. And then hardware issues crop up. Because as much as people like to think that every bit of hardware that is mass manufactured is all on par, they're not. Every bit of hardware still has its own little frequencies that aren't quite the same as another one, and some of the diodes might not be correct, some of the solder points might not be correct. It could be literally anything to do with the circuitry on some machines where it's not performing as well as other machines, and there's a lot of underlying factors that can cause.
We did hear yield issues in the beginning, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Underlying issues on hardware itself that can cause certain people to have issues that others do not. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and those are the factors that they have to account for when they're doing development, but also post-development. And this is why we talk about in a digital world, it's a lot easier now for them to roll out these patches. If these games were to have released years ago, when there weren't live patches or weren't day one patches or month one patches, etc., where they can proactively fix these things and make the game better over time, would be stuck with these broken games forever. And there's nothing you could do about it. There would be absolutely nothing you could do about it. Once it's broken, it's broken. And that was the death of some franchises because these games could not be patched. They could not be fixed. It would take a complete re-release of the game in another form in order to get the game out in the intended kind of practice in the first place. What I've played very little of the game so far, but I have played a little bit of it. Obviously, it is a beautiful game. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It does have some performance issues across the board, though, and some graphical issues in performance mode that a lot of people seem to try and downplay, and that is the shimmering effect when you're kind of moving the camera around. It has very much to do with still using the checkerboard rendering. And again, this is why I'm saying the performance issues are solely down to the fact that this is most definitely a cross-gen title. And you can see that in the issues that they're having with the fidelity on performance mode. If they're only focused on one platform and had a performance mode on just PlayStation 5 versus PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, I don't think you would have had the shimmering issues. I don't think you would have had the performance issues. I think
Dutch, I would like to also add one more bit of criticism to my mix here while you're talking about this.
Yes.
So and the shimmering I have not noticed as much because luckily I've been playing on an LG OLED black screen. Yes, you can see it a bit, but in performance mode and believe it or not, I find that quality mode is like oddly enough, I've been playing this at 30 frames instead of 60. For some reason, the graphics really lend to that, and you don't need to be speeding through things. So I find it's beautiful, right? So the shimmering has not been so much of an issue because, as I said, I've been playing it also on here. But here's the weird thing: to play it on here, right? I can't use this. I have to use this.
Yeah.
My DualShock 4.
Yep.
To play this PS5 game. Because the DualSense won't allow me to pair, because it's got Bluetooth, but it won't allow me to pair to the thing to play
another
the PS5
ridiculous
game.
Development ideology.
Ridiculous. But please continue. I need to keep beating that drum until somebody hears me. This is ridiculous. Why do I keep this around?
It is. Okay. It's things that PlayStation haven't really thought through correctly and haven't implemented. Much like, again, wanting to have their games on PC, but then not implementing DualSense features for the PC games, or at least most of them. Why? Why not? If you've got this controller that you've spent all this R&D on, you want more people to experience it. So just let the features work. If you're gonna try and expand that player base over to PC and they're using DualSenses on the PC, then let them use the DualSense on the PC properly, not just as a gimmicky upgraded version of a PlayStation 4 controller. Like what? That makes no sense. It's just a larger PlayStation 4 controller at that point. But and much to Boom, you mentioned it before, of course, with that poor girl who his PlayStation 5 is completely bricked now as well. But the cloud save thing as well is obscene. Locking cloud saves behind a paywall. Like that should be the most basic of things. It's not like a big amount of cloud. Like in terms of cloud saves, you need the best part of maybe is a gig worth of information there to house your cloud saves on. You don't need a lot. All it is a save state.
Yes.
It's nothing more than that. It's a couple of hundred kilobits.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So 1 gig worth of cloud saves, and you're holding that a ransom behind. Like I've got countless games on mine. I'm on PS Plus. Do you know how much of a percentage I've used in cloud saves? 1%.
Yep.
Like when you're really gonna feel this when they get rid of the paywall, when they get rid of Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
coming. Yeah.
I've had a 360.
Saves, like I say,
my 360 cloud saves have been there since 360 days, including the Xbox One, including the Series X. I have almost 1,000 games. It hasn't had more than 100 meg, barely.
Yeah. It's egregious.
What would solve them with the issue that they have with this whole save state file transfer rubbish that they've got on PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5? Universal cloud saves. You know why this cross-generation thing works for Microsoft and this Play Anywhere stuff works? Because it's all one ecosystem. When you've logged in, your saves are there.
Yes.
That's it. You just download the saves and play.
Yep.
It's on none of this save to your hard drive, upload to the next one, blah, 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 blah. What's the...
Look at what happened to Cyberpunk, right? Yeah. Even though they give it to you for free, guess what? You got to download a whole different SKU.
It's unbelievable.
And then upload your one save to just build the right infrastructure. Let you upgrade what you have, right? So then, but then of course that does not afford you the ability to charge people $10 to be able to use the remote control you paid for with the thing. Yeah. So maybe they're not quick to go do that, but it's unfortunate.
On a positive note, to finish on a positive note, the game of course is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, you mentioned there it's on the Decima engine, which obviously has been refined. Now you've seen what the Decima engine was capable of in a different way when we seen Death Stranding. Of course, the fidelity and the level of detail in Death Stranding, specifically on PC, is phenomenal. And you see that kind of engine put into use in this game. But then on an even better note there, this is still a cross-generational game. This isn't as good as this engine can be. When they start to let go of the reins of the previous generation, and I hope that's sooner rather than later, you're going to start seeing these engines really put to work and really unleashed. Because this isn't the best this game can be. It's beautiful. It's granted, it's absolutely beautiful, but there's still some fundamental basics that they haven't got right yet. You've looked at the foliage there. You can run through the same amount of foliage as you want, but it's not going anywhere. Like it wobbles a little bit, but that's about it. Like, look at that. You can see it through gameplay. It's not doing anything. Like that's engine limitations. But it's something that can be changed if you're focusing on one game, and you can actually refine it. So when you go over it, it tramples down. You know, it's some of these things, these little extras, really add to the immersion of a game. And these are the things that I would look forward to seeing in the next iteration, the next game of Horizon. Overall, though, it is a great game. It has its issues. They do need ironed out. PlayStation and Xbox fans, regardless of who've bought the game, you're still a paying consumer. If you notice issues, call it out. Do it in a constructive manner. Don't give the developers a hard time in terms of
unnecessarily.
Don't do it that way. Obviously, be good about it. The hardworking developers, they really care about this game. They've put a lot of work into getting this out as beautiful as it is now, with a great story and great combat. Just make sure it's all done in a very constructive manner. That goes for any time you buy anything, regardless how big or small the game is. But specifically when it comes out like this, there are obviously factors behind as to why some of these things are happening. So help them understand it and fix it to improve. But yeah, it's obviously a great game. It's going to be going up there as already a potential game of the year candidate for this year.
100%. It's my currently game of the year. I know we're early in, but this is certainly at the top of the list for me.
It's a great start to 2022. Put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, you've still got the Souls guys are still going to be vying for Elden Ring kind of this week. And then following that, you've still got potentially got a war later on in the year, and following that, you've got Starfield and Redfall and things. There's lots of games to come, and obviously third-party games as well. So it's going to be a great year. But please, all I say is, I'll just reiterate: help them fix the game and make it as good as it can be. Don't give them unwarranted hate. Be constructive with your criticisms and help them make the game as good as it can be, because it deserves it. It's a great game. They put a lot of time into.
Absolutely. It's a testament to their engineering team and their
Yes.
artists. Man, this game is beautiful. Like,
it is
insanely.
definitely a looker for sure. It's probably one of the best PlayStation looking games to date. And like I said, they'll get to the bugs, but like I said, I thought it was an important conversation to have today, that you can praise the game, but you also can be have constructive criticism without being called a fanboy, which is preposterous. But real quick, Vic the Click drops a $5 super chat and says, conspiracy theory here, folks. Maybe Sony left those bugs in there so Jim Ryan can push the narrative that free upgrade hinders the game. that is funny.
Imagine a bug that only shows up on the version you upgraded for free. I know everyone would be happy about that.
You know what? That would be pretty ridiculous. But listen, let's get everyone out of here.
Comment.
We're 219 into it. Want to thank our special guest all from Xbox Era. One Bad Mother hung out with us. Obviously, Mag, you heard him. He's on out of here. Let's get the rest of the crew out of here. We'll start first, of course, with Kay Asante. You're not feeling good, brother, but I'm glad you were here to drop your righteous smoke as always. By all means, sell your brand. Tell them where people can come back and see you this Saturday, and where can people reach out to you and potentially strike up a conversation on social media.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me once again. As you can tell by the vocal cords, I'm not exactly at 100%. A lot of muting and coughing going on, but it is what it is. It's not the Rona. Calm yourselves. Anyway, so thank you so much. We didn't have a show last week. You know, I was a little under the weather. Hopefully this week I'm planning on putting on a show. I actually think that I will be a guest, unless something changes work-wise. I will be a guest on the World of Gaming with Mr. Boxenberger this Thursday at 3 p.m. So unless, my bosses decide to hijack my day, I will be on there talking gaming with the man. It's going to be awesome.
Nice.
Yes. And also this Saturday, we're hoping to bring the gaming circle back. We have a very interesting guest lined up. We're hoping to get some solidification, but you'll probably hear more about that on Wednesday. I want to bring more diverse voices in here, and this person will hopefully, be able to make it, and we'll make that happen. It's gonna be real fun. So it's real cool. You can find me as you see on the screen there, TKO Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation. If you follow me, I definitely follow you back. I enjoy having conversations with the community. So, I'm always like posting something ridiculous and getting into conversations with folks. And I appreciate you guys who always want to engage with me. So please, Saturday, the Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will see you guys next week, I'm sure.
Thank you, brother. Definitely feel better, and we'll be talking for sure. Everborn Saga, by all means, sell your brand. Tell them what you got going on. And when is the next Kickstarter starting?
Next Kickstarter is going to be a couple of months, because I want to have the actual novel, like proper novel, ready for that. But the Redlands, if you didn't get in on the last Kickstarter, is going to be launched in the coming days. So look out for that. We will be sending out those Kickstarter rewards very soon too. I just submitted the files to the printer, and digital rewards are going to be going out soon. So keep your eye on everbornsaga.com if you want to get a hold of the Redlands. And we are working on the next series that we're going to launch, The Remnant, which will be a comic alongside a novel. So we're going to release the novel and adapt the comic sort of one chapter at a time. So
nice.
Big things happening on that front. But check out everbornsaga.com and check me out on Everborn Saga on Twitter. And on Saturdays, the Gaming Circle podcast, I will be with my brother over here with the beard, the one that's not tied up. On Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. and I'm trying to get on the reel back, and I think this Saturday I'll be on the Shop podcast, and I might be doing something Friday with Infinite Umbra. And I might be doing something with Xbox University on Saturday as well. It's gonna be a busy weekend podcasting for me. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Definitely sounds busy, brother. But listen, great to have you as always. Love the knowledge you bring to each conversation, and of course, we'll see you back here next week. And last and no way least, Dutch, please sell your brand. Tell them where they can check you out this Wednesday. What you got going on, also. And where can people reach out to you and strike up a conversation with the best beard in the business?
Yes, most definitely. Thank you again. Awesome evening again with an awesome panel. And of course, I'm going to say, I would say guest, but he's not a guest anymore.
He really is not. He's just a crazy uncle that got a key. Yeah.
OBM, of course, we're speaking about there. He's just an extended panel member at this point. No, awesome show again this evening. Awesome chat. Of course, keeping it respectful, which is awesome to see, and great discussions. You can find me, of course, in the usual places on Twitter at Wondering Dutch and at YouTube at Wondering Dutch, the home of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, where we have returned this week on Wednesday for our next show, where we will be discussing, of course, Horizon Forbidden West impressions, alongside two of the bigger and better-known names in the PlayStation community, with both BitCloud joining our panel now on a permanent basis. And of course, Mr. Badbit is joining as guest. So two big PlayStation voices talking about the PlayStation greatness. Of course, Mr. Boom alluded to this at the start of the show. The Community Indie Showcase does return in April and work has begun. We've got a whole host of awesome content creators already lined up, including Mr. BoomStick, of course, Lord Cognito, Thistledew Gaming, Ains from Season Gaming, Boxing Burger, TQ Asante, of course, Gamers Watch Crew, Mav from Fun Speculation, and more to be announced. But awesome show. Can't wait to get it all together and get working with everybody again to get this awesome show out to people. It's going to be about 2 hours again of awesome indie goodness.
Excellent.
And of course, as usual, we will have potentially a couple of surprises, maybe some teasers for games that have yet to be announced.
Nice.
And some giveaways. So it'll be awesome.
Yeah, we're looking forward to what you did. You pulled it off last year. Last year's was amazing. It was great. I was very excited to be a part of it. And of course, I'm very honored to be asked back to assist in that once again. It's always great to help the indies, get some space with all of these big AAA games that take up a lot of the conversation. And some of the indie games that released last year were some of the best we've seen in almost a decade. Last year was the year of indies for sure, and it was just a great time to play. But listen, folks, thank you for being
next
here.
month.
What's
Keep
that?
Your eyes out. Tunic next month.
Oh, I do it. I can't wait. Game Pass too, which is even better. But listen, folks, thank you so much for being here, supporting Double Barrel Gaming. Hopefully, you can tune in this Thursday for the first episode of X Vlog Live, the fourth show coming back to Double Barrel Gaming, and our first guest being the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central, and of course, the Xbox 2 podcast. Now, I'm going to throw it out there. Randolph has been under the weather. I'm hoping that we can get Rand to come and join us. Normally it's a one-on-one, but to make it an Xbox 3 podcast would be pretty cool. We'll see, but definitely Jez has confirmed that he will be here, and we're going to be talking up Xbox. Got some big questions for Jez that hopefully he will be able to answer. But thanks again for being here. Obviously, thank you so much for the support in regards to super chats and channel membership that continue to come in. Again, that helps us do the big giveaways that we've done in the past, and we will continue. And of course, I'll close out the show with something that is important to me, folks. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.